And we are live. I'm Anthony Johnson, founder of 21 Studios, host of today's Redman Group, the final of 2018, episode 47. On the show today, we're going to have probably dozens of guests. We've invited every single guest we've had on throughout the entire year, 2018, which is, by the way, the first year of the Redman Group. We began earlier this year on the 21 Studios channel on a little hangout we did, me, Rollo, Black Label Logic, and others. On the panel currently for the beginning of the show, not only is there myself, of course, Anthony Dream Johnson. Left to right from my order, I have Donovan Sharp from Sharp Reality, Drew Bay from Bay.com, DDJ, author of The Feminist Lie, Ryan Stone, the fourth R of the Manosphere, Rollo Tomassi, godfather of the Red Pill and author of The Rational Male, and Texas Dom from TexasDom.com. And we will have Richard Cooper on in a minute as well, and probably many more throughout the show. Today also will be an extended episode that will probably run well over 2 hours. And you guys are welcome to give super chats to highlight your question. We will have call-ins later in the show. We will drop the number in the live YouTube chat. And we're also on patreon.com/Redman Group. If you want to pitch into the show, join a tier and get exclusive benefits for being a member and supporting the content and the show. There is Rich Cooper from Entrepreneurs in Cars.
Working this time. Oh, it's still not working.
Yep. Anyway, with Rich back on, let's kind of go through the roundtable. What do you guys got going on? I myself just finished yesterday wrapping up or publishing the 21 Report show. The final episode was myself. Best for last. Ha ha ha. That's the biggest news item I got. Donovan, what you got?
Okay, yeah. Got some big changes coming up this year. Got a couple of new sponsors. Had a great week of shows here at TSR Towers. I was on the air Christmas Day. Had Devin on the show. She's the first and last woman I'll ever have on the show. Had a great episode with Anthony. I think it was Monday. We talked about private marriage, why it could be a good alternative for men if they're looking to sort of go down that slippery slope. In the coming months, I'm going to be releasing a mobile app. Going to be releasing at least 2 books. Got a bunch of merchandise in the pipeline, some TSR branded merchandise. So we're really going to take this thing to the next level. I mean, my show has been more successful than I originally thought it was. So now it's time to get ready for that success. So 2019 looks like it's going to be a real good year for us.
Nice. Drew Bay, what you got going on, man? Welcome to the show, by the way.
Man, thanks. Glad to be here. Too much, actually. I'm wrapping up some books on physique transformation, physical performance, exercise form. And I'm going to be completely revamping my body weight training book, putting together some video courses. It's going to be a pretty full year. I'm excited for it, though.
Yeah. I've seen you big on Facebook, constantly doing video podcasts to your group.
Yep.
Cool. DDJ, welcome back. Glad to have you back on, man.
Yeah, man, it's good to be here. Yeah, I've been pretty busy. Like I said, I'm working on my book. I've been doing a lot of investigative reporting on things that are relevant to what I think is the Manosphere, including a lot of reporting about Antifa and about their upcoming stuff that's going to be happening around January 20th of 2019. And I just started recently some investigative reporting into the Roy Moore story with the electoral fraud that's been going on there. And I've been talking about some of the stuff that basically very few, if anybody, is talking about when it comes to the larger fraud with regard to the Roy Moore story. I just found out yesterday that the guy who actually committed the election fraud in the Alabama Senate, I think it was the Senate or the House, I forget. It's early and I'm still a little sick. I apologize. It turns out that the guy who was responsible for that election fraud also created a program called Hamilton 68, which has been used in the mainstream media to report on a bunch of fake news. They actually admit that it doesn't work. I talk about that in a recent video. And it turns out, I found out last night that that same person actually did a Senate report talking about Russian bots and Russian interference with the election. So because this guy's a confirmed fraudster now, this could call into question the legitimacy of the Mueller investigation and many other things associated with that. I mean, it's some heavy stuff. But yeah, so I've done some videos on that. I'm probably going to be doing another follow-up on that. And then, of course, with my Antifa series, I'll be wrapping that up with my part 5 probably coming up next week. But yeah, other than that, just been kind of keeping busy and trying to get back on the mend. I got a little bit of a cold for Christmas, so trying to work through that.
Damn. Well, thanks for hopping on, man. Appreciate you being here today.
Absolutely.
Ryan, how's the fourth out of the Manosphere shaping up? What's going on?
All right, so here's what I got going on then. Bam. First off, the newsletter's in full swing. 6 days a week emails here. The list is growing a huge amount, and it's really awesome. It's nice to have an unfiltered space where I can talk about things without having to worry about a ban from social media. As always, for a little more of the tame stuff and the teasers for the content that we all produce behind the scenes, there's going to be my Twitter account there. Same thing here. Going to step up Instagram in the next year. Going to start with Instagram TV, Instagram stories, and keeping the high quality photos of travel, style, that sort of thing. And then finally, the YouTube channel's in full swing. I finally got a name attached to it now, so it's not a random set of hexadecimal characters. Nice. So videos are coming out every Thursday with the exception of Christmas, which I wanted to get the cranberry sauce in early.
Yeah, and they're cooking videos, right? A lot of them with the backdrop. Yeah.
Well, it's the ideas. I mean, it's really easy to be an edgelord, have a bunch of flaming skulls on your thing, and talk about the women's. But you know, at the end of the day, we still have to get stuff done. So it's nice to attach it to something fairly domestic that guys are going to have to learn anyway. And then the final thing on the go here is the New Year's going off with a bang. Going to offer a crazy special with the coaching. Keep your ears on the Twitter, most likely, where it'll first kick off there, and I'll let you know on the details there, but it's going to be pretty awesome. The clients we got now, you guys are still going to be grandfathered into the old program, so don't worry about it too much. And that's me.
All right. Rich Cooper, what's going on, man?
Well, aside from having technical difficulties, I'm not sure why that doesn't pop up. What if I hit that? Oh, so I got to do this manually?
No, you're looking fine, man. When you talk, you pop up.
Does it pop up on your screen?
Yeah.
Dude, it's that statue behind you. It's cursing you.
Yeah, you're good to go, man. You're good to go.
That is the Greek god of fertility.
Yeah, you went grave robbing and
no, it's
Rich, click your
part of the heritage.
Click your screen down low where it's click yourself again. It
click
should
myself
bounce.
Again.
Rich, in terms of the broadcast, though,
Yeah.
you're fine. Like it's definitely going out good.
Okay, so when I talk right now, it pops up on your screen.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
That's so weird because it's not doing it on mine. This is like one of the first times I've done the Redman group and I've not moderated or hosted. So anyway, updates. Yeah, things are going really good. Channel's been growing, community's been growing. Been doing these before the train wreck shows with Sean Smith. We got another one scheduled, not for this Monday, but the one after. Interesting concept because we wanted to try to get guys before they screwed up their lives. So problem is most people only call in with trauma, so it's one of those juggling acts. But so far we're just kind of tweaking through the call system and how to kind of screen through the calls. So that's been an interesting thing. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, just go to Entrepreneurs in Cars. We're doing those Monday nights, and of course there's a regular content. We're doing a community goal setting broadcast on Sunday. So this Sunday for my community, we're basically one of the members does this for a living. So he's got this flow system that we're going to use. So we got to do that broadcast. Just working on a whole bunch of stuff, trying to do a chapter every week so I can get this book down because I've already kind of committed to get that. I have committed to getting this shit done by the summertime. So it'll be out.
You're also doing regular shows with speakers still, right? I saw Ryan Stone the other day on there.
Yeah, I'm doing one-on-ones. The one that I did with Ryan yesterday was really good. I really enjoyed that. It wasn't so much, focusing on, red pill stuff or anything along the lines. It's just kind of like, let's just talk about shit. Like it kind of went like almost like a Joe Rogan flow, eh?
Okay. Cool.
So yeah, it's been fun.
Next in line, we got, let's see, we'll hop back later to Modern Life Dating. Rollo, what's going on, man? You've been busy week for you, right? You've been all over the place online.
I've been hella busy this week. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like I always promised myself I wouldn't overcommit to too much, like when it comes to like doing interviews and so. If it was just interviews, it would be easier, I think.
It's very, very difficult, and you guys know it's not as easy as it looks to do a one-man show to fill up 45 minutes to an hour to an hour and a half. It's not.
I have guys. I'm glad you brought that up. I've got like a few things here. My first thing on my list is I've got my own channel now on YouTube, and I finally got monetized on it, but I don't know how long that's going to last. I got some green lights. I got some yellow lights. I'm just kind of getting into podcasting, I guess, or doing live stream shows of my own. So that's everybody cool. Yeah, that's something I'm kind of learning on the fly here. I've got my Red Pill 101 thing that I'm doing with Pat Campbell right now. Pat and I are really trying to find some way to break into the mainstream with this content. I don't necessarily think that might, I'm kind of on the fence as to whether or not that's a good idea, but there it is. I think that that putting this stuff out into the mainstream is going to be very controversial, and I think that it could be a really good show. We have, I think, at the end of this year, Tom Likas is going to be retiring, and that kind of opens up a new avenue for terrestrial radio and a host like say Pat. I think Pat's kind of trying to position himself a little bit into that, but I don't know. It's up in the air right now. That's something we may or may not be doing. I'm not sure. I don't want to talk about too much because we're in the larval stage of it, I guess. I have my main thrust right now is going to be book 4. That's one of the reasons why it's like for me to go and do interviews or me to go and do shows, it takes time away from the book. And every time I'm doing a new blog post, it's taking time away from the book. And I really need to, I will probably at some point just hold myself up in my studio for 4 or 5 weeks and just commit myself to the book, because it's starting to look that I'm going to have to really concentrate on that. I've got a new channel coming up. I got a new blog coming up. It's just going to be a redesign of the Rational Male. It's in the works. I probably won't launch until the first week of January. I'm sort of combining that with an email for my Patreons. I don't know how long I'm going to stay on Patreon because everybody is sort of abandoning that platform right now. So we'll see what happens. And so I'm doing an email list, not because I'm trying to sell anything to anybody. It's just that's kind of like a fail safe for a guy like me. Everybody's going to buy anything from me, they're going to buy my book. So that's great, but I'm not going to be doing any affiliate marketing or anything like that. My marketing efforts are on my own gear. I think that's really where my strengths are. So I'm going to be sticking to that. We're going to be doing some crazy shit this year. I guess maybe we should just hold off on talking about that until later on. But I'm looking forward to doing a little bit of traveling here very soon. Actually, very soon, like within the month of January. So that's going to be fun. Well, we'll talk about that later on. But so, anyways, that's what the Rational Male has going on.
Yeah, there's a lot that we've planned for 2019. I'll be announcing it soon as well with you and Rich Cooper and others on his channel. So we got a lot in 2019, plus more travel.
I don't want to get too deep here because all of my plans are really pretty much surround like your plans.
Yep. The ultimate planner. Welcome to the dream, baby. Steve the Dean Williams, how you doing, man? Welcome back. You're muted. Now you're good. Hello? Still muted. Still muted.
Come back.
Welcome back. Jonathan, what's going on, buddy? MLD, welcome.
Greetings from the great state of Wyoming. I'm on vacation right now, and I just got an alert from Donovan, so I popped out of bed and just set up a little setup here. And things are good. Instagram has unshadow banned me for now. I guess I complained enough, and I'm back on. So I'm at Modern Life Dating there. Coming out with a body language course that helps you interpret female body language. I don't think anybody's ever made one of these things. I hired a model, I filmed it, and now I'm just in the parts of adding, increasing the production value. And then my radio show Interview with a Man is going to be starting in January, towards the end of January. It's going to be 5 days a week, and I'm just going to be interviewing men, or also I'll be interviewing women. And the situation Interview with the Man is I'll be interviewing either a man, or the man doing interviewing is me. So that is something I plan to do as well. Just get people's thoughts out onto the internet, get average Joe's thoughts out onto the internet and just have it on my podcast and just show the world what people are thinking, what's going on. And of course, add my take to it. YouTube, it's going to be coming out as well, more and more. And it's just slowly but surely going to happen.
Sounds like you're branching out, man. Good shit.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Tex, welcome back. Did we get to you yet? I don't believe so. Oh, you muted. Now you're good.
Hey, appreciate it. Thanks for having me back on. Really, what's going on for me right now is getting geared back up for 2019. Got a lot going on. But what I am really focusing on starting January 1st is an email list. So if anybody wants to kind of get a little bit closer to where I'm coming from on some things, stuff I post a lot of times is strictly, out there for public consumption for the whole world. I'm going to try to do a little bit more private stuff and a little bit more detailed stuff. So TexasDom.com, go to the contact page, sign up for the email list, and see what I got to send you.
Love your background, by the way. Fucking
Thank
super
you.
badass. Super
America.
badass. Yeah. Steve, you there?
All
Steve
right,
Dean Williams?
Can you hear me now? Is that good?
Yes,
There he
sir.
is. The voice of the
Yes,
night
sir.
is back.
The voice of God.
Yes.
First off, I want to wish all y'all happy holidays, man. Much love to y'all guys. Only thing that's going on with me is, the same thing that we've always been doing is just changing the world one man at a time. Helping guys understand the power of manhood through self-definition, self-awareness, and self-concept. Basically, still going to keep doing 3 shows every Tuesday night, every Tuesday, 1 in the morning at 11 East. We got a D&W show with Rosebud Bitter Dose from American Pimp, teaching manhood, though, not pimping, but and also a man mindset show at 7 o'clock East. Just helping guys out with still pushing meeting, dating, texting, sex, marriage, and any and everything manhood, and also doing some work with Donovan and Jonathan as well, and just slowly and surely trying to follow y'all lead and working on a book. But god damn it, it is fucking hell. Rollo, I don't know how you do it, but man, it is tough working on the book. But
You gotta marry it.
I know, man. God, but yeah,
Put a baby in it, man.
yeah, that's it, man. It's real. I didn't know it was that hard work, but I'm surely trying to push that out. But that's just about it. Just helping guys out, man.
All right. Well, I think we got through the entire panel. We can move on to today's. Oh, yeah. Well, what about me? Yeah. Well, last night we finished up the final episode of the 21 report. I happened to be last. That was not quite intentional, but it worked out pretty good. It was actually kind of nerve-wracking watching my own episode because I remember doing it like barely. I was exhausted, 5 days of conference work, 2 hours of sleep a night. But it came out really good. I was pretty happy with it. Got some really cool shots out of it, some photos and stuff. Very triggering, new profile image for my social media, shit like that. Yeah. Coming up soon, I mentioned briefly earlier when Rollo was talking about some announcements we have. We got some big travel plans for a couple speakers on this panel. We're not going to announce all the way yet. I'll be myself going to Poland in the end of February with a couple of my key film guys. We're going to be scouting out the Poland location, restaurants, security, venues, film teams, or equipment there and stuff like that. So we'll actually be not only scouting it, but finalizing it when I'm there as well for the Poland convention we're working on for July in 2019. I'm also now beginning to tour venues in Orlando for the upcoming conventions we have in Orlando. We do have 2 of them planned. Only one of them is announced. That's the main event, the world event in November. We also have one in the spring that I have not formally announced yet, but I will be soon. Very excited to do that on Entrepreneurs in Cars with Richard Cooper, Rollo, and a few others. That's a secret event that all of you guys here know about that I've talked to you about. But obviously on the web, no one knows about it yet. But it's a very special event. I'm very excited to announce it pretty soon and get all the details out. And tickets to that will be launching in the end of January, followed by tickets to the Poland convention for the July and the summer in Warsaw, Poland, and followed by the tickets as well for the Orlando convention. The main event of the year, even bigger than Poland, will be in Orlando. 2019 is gearing up to be probably the most epic year of my life, and I've had some pretty epic ones in recent years. In 2016, the split with a crazy BPD hooker, the 2 conventions we had that year. 2017 was the 10-year anniversary of my company and the event. 2018 was basically the first Woodstock of the Manosphere. So my life is like riding a rocket ship bare ass at this point, and I'm really excited. And I love having you guys in my life, all of you guys. From Drew Bay back in 2009 to the new guys here now, MLD, all of you guys. It's shaping up good, man. I'm really happy with where the country's going right now. It's polarized as it is. Really happy with my business, my personal life, a lot of stuff. And 2019, I'm really excited to take on the challenges. Doing 3 conventions, we've done that before in 2012. That was a while ago. And doing 3 again is it's high time. It's a high time I flexed and kind of stretched out and see what I could do or stand out.
Flood that fucking market, brother.
Fuck yeah. And of course, we have the 22 convention coming up in spring 2020. That's still a ways out, obviously, but I'm still excited for that. The planning for that is continuing slowly but surely. Most importantly, scouting venues for it in advance that we're going to probably use for that one. That we'll use in 2019 as well. And then also a lot of discussions behind the scenes. building the mansplaining event of the century for women is it's a big task, and it's not just planning and logistics and building a badass convention professionally, logistically like I do. It's also intellectual, and it's going to take real planning. And I really appreciate. I've been talking to Rollo about it a lot so far, and a few others about how that's actually going to go down, so it doesn't suck and doesn't just tell these women what they want to hear, but tell them what they need to hear. Tell them the raw truth that no one else is going to give them, and do it in a way that's effective and actually has an impact. And it's not just kind of like feel good information. So there's a lot going on, and the whole company's changed. I've talked to a few of you about that behind the scenes. I've made a lot of hires recently, a lot of big changes. My life's changed personally because of it.
Yeah.
And it's wild, man. It's just been absolutely wild. Super, super awesome. With that said, enough about me. This year, we kicked off the Redman Group with an episode. I believe the first one was about discussing and criticizing Jordan Peterson before it was cool, before it was now like a thing.
It was fashionable.
We're here now, 46 episodes later, 47 total, 3 of which were filmed live, which are almost done, by the way, editing in Orlando, Florida, with all of you guys, most of you guys
Those
there.
are cool, man.
Yeah. Was that Donovan?
I said those were cool, the live episodes.
Oh, those are, yeah. I've seen a lot of them now, like editing them, and we've seen the guy edited them and stuff, and they're beautiful. Yeah, those are going to drop like real soon. We're going to drop them immediately too. They're not going to like hang back or anything like that. We're going to put them out at the same time on Redman Group channel, 21 Studios, and Entrepreneurs in Cars. So it's going to be a huge kind of broadcast like that. And I think it's going to change the way that the fans experience the content or view the company or view the Redman Group as a show. They were super high level. You guys, those of you there know that. But let's kind of look back on the year, and then kind of where that's heading for the Manosphere. I know Jack Murphy's someone who's given a lot of thought to this. He's on the panel right now. But we want to go through this, Rollo? You want to kick this off and kind of give a review? That actually hits. I was looking at your speech last night, by the way. This is
I was going to say, that was that. I can't wait for that to drop. So, but yeah, I did a year, almost kind of like a year-end review at the 21 convention. I went and talked about the where I thought the Manosphere was going and where we've been, which is kind of like the theme of this whole show. But I'm a little bit, I'm cautiously optimistic, I think was probably the best term. I think that coming in the next couple of years, we're going to, and maybe DDJ will have something to say about this, but I think we're going to see things are going to heat up as far as intersectional dynamics are concerned with regard to our politics, really. We're already beginning to see this a lot. I'll make a prediction right here. I believe that whoever is facing Donald Trump will be a woman this year, or in this election cycle. Yeah, I will say that right now, and they're trying to find the right chick to do it.
Who the hell?
And they will be a minority. I do know that they did talk to.
Wow, that is
I do know that they've talked to Angelina Jolie about it. But honestly, I don't think she can get past the primary because she falsely accused Brad Pitt of sexual assault and child abuse, and that will destroy her.
Well, not only that, she's Angelina Jolie. Nobody takes her seriously.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, she's a fucking actress.
Well, nobody took Donald Trump seriously.
Yeah, but Donald Trump has a high brain. Angelina Jolie's a movie star, looks like an over.
They're reaching right now. I was just going to say, is like I think that what we are doing right now, as in this Red Pill community, and a lot of people are going to say, you guys are just a bunch of yokels, getting together on a weekend. But I think that we are sort of on the cusp of something big as far as intersectional dynamics is concerned. Like you guys know, I don't really talk about politics or racial issues or anything unless it translates into intersectional dynamics. Well, a lot of that, I think, if you think that Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump was sexual politics, wait till you see the 2020 election cycle. Yes. I think they're better organized right now. I think you're going to see more pushback, and it's going to be in your face. I'm already looking at like the covers of some magazines here. What is it? Ariana Grande's, A God is a Woman. I mean, that's just one. I mean, it's this continual message of female empowerment. It's the female empowerment agenda. I've written about this several times. Then you got Oprah Winfrey on the cover of, I think, Elle, saying that boys need to be taught that women are their superiors, that women are should be not only just their equals but their superiors. And I think you're going to see that message change.
You know what though? While she's down there, she can look behind my sack.
Right.
Jesus.
Yeah, well, I mean, I understand. You know, it's cool to like, you know, to laugh at it, but man, I tell you, man, shit's going to get serious very soon.
Do you mind if I interject in here?
Absolutely. Go for it.
You know, it's interesting because one of the things that I noticed in 2018, and I've noticed this probably, I've been involved, you know, kind of behind the scenes as a lurker in the Manosphere since probably 2011, 2012. You know, one of the first people I followed when I started getting into the Manosphere was Roosh from Return of Kings, and started looking at a lot of those types of things. One of the things I've noticed in 2018 is that the political agenda and the social agenda of the intersectional movement has really focused on silencing the Manosphere in general, and talking about how all masculinity is toxic masculinity and those types of things. And one of the things that really struck me was how the political movements actually jumped in behind that. And I realized very quickly that the messaging that the Manosphere sends to men to empower them, to improve them, to help them in their lives, it destroys that political agenda of the intersectionality movement because it offers them something different. And so groups like this, like the Red Man group, and, you know, other groups of men who get together, you know, and find common ground and support men, that's a threat to them. And it's a threat to them in a way that they cannot handle it. That's why you see a lot of the censorship, a lot of the vitriolic attacks, a lot of the you know, political attitudes from the left toward the Manosphere. And you see it's a multifaceted attack. And I completely agree with Rollo when it comes to that the political piece is really amping up. But even from the research that I've seen that basically you see a lot of really heavy political power players behind these people trying to silence men and destroy positive masculinity. And I think that that's really the challenge now. And groups like this, and I'm not, you know, trying to be arrogant or anything, but
no, please.
No, I'm saying we're ahead of the curve because we see it for what it is in real time, and we are calling it out in real time. And so the nice thing about that is that we're basically shoving these red pills down these people's throats and going, look, you can't bullshit us. You can't push this false narrative on us. And we are seeing citizen journalists, and we are seeing people speaking out who are in the know from every walk of life. And my primary example for that is, look at all the leaks from inside of Google, for example. There were leaks all throughout the year of people within that company going, wow, these people, they're doing things that we don't agree with. And you see this now in the mainstream media. So the stronger, or I should say, the more that they attempt to push this false narrative, this intersectional narrative, the more they're getting pushed back. And it's not the mainstream media that's doing it. It's people like us. Yeah. And it's starting to, you see the groundswell rising up because it's the common man who is standing up against this stuff. It's not the traditional mainstream media personality. So I agree that when it comes to, when you saw that transition from 2018, when it comes to 2020, there's going to be a big push with Donald Trump. And I said this, I said this about the 2016 election, and I think that it's important to reiterate here. You know, I have a background in family law, and I believe that President Trump got the family law treatment from the feminist movement. You see, it's false allegation after false allegation after false allegation. They continue to drag him to court and to drag him to court and to drag him to court. And anytime he opens his mouth, they demonize him throughout the mainstream media. Now, I worked on the litigation side of family law, and it is all motion hearing practice, which means that every time you open your mouth, they're filing motions or harassing you, anything you do in order to get that snowball down the hill. And if you look at, and anybody who is listening, who is a family law attorney or who works as a legal professional in family law, you can see the parallels between the way the left has treated Trump compared to the way fathers are treated in family court. Mm-hmm. The only difference is that Trump controls his own narrative. That's why I love about the fact that he has his own Twitter account. He speaks for himself. He says what is on his mind. And yeah, sure, he filters some of it, But the point is that he's able to get his message out. And that's what drives him nuts, because he practices the Zen of zero fucks given, which all men should. And they should say, look, this is what we're doing. This is the direction we're going. And you can either jump on board, or you can get out of the way, or you can get run over. And I think that really scares them, because positive men who stand up for things, who can commit to their values, that terrifies them. So in 2020, when you see this election happen, you're going to watch all these dirty tricks continue to come out. That's why I think that this whole Roy Moore thing is so completely important, because there's a whole other side of that story that has huge implications to the left's false narratives, that once they get called out, it's going to create a level of credibility destruction that they're just not going to be able to handle. And you're going to see the walk away movement grow. And so it's important for groups like this, you know, where we all get together and we talk. It's important for men like us to be there to help those men take that red pill and to transition their life in a more positive way.
Hell yeah. I want to get Donovan in here, but real quick, I had some thoughts last night that are not too radical, but worth sharing. I realized that my own company, 21 Studios, and by extension, the Redman Group as well, because it's in a very similar category, they're both on a collision course with mainstream media. Not only because of the content and the ideas and all the things we're doing that are very, that they hate with a passion, of course, because we're focused on truth and we don't care about the bullshit that they're into. But on top of that, these two companies and organizations are organizing many, many positive male speakers like we're talking about, like DJ was talking about. And I think that in particular is what really puts them at a collision course. I don't know how many weeks, months, or years from now, but not that long, I think, with mainstream media, with being all out attacked by them. I think Nellie Bowles in the New York Times recently at 21Con in Orlando, that was kind of an early precursor to that. I think we're going to see more of that at the conventions this year.
Did you see that, by the way, where Jordan Peterson was shitting on her for some crappy journalism?
No, but that sounds fantastic. Yeah,
that
great.
Just came out. It was hilarious. I'm like, hey, welcome to the club.
Yeah. I know she did a huge hit piece on him too. But back to my main point there, though, is just like it really hit me last night that there's definitely it's not if, it's when. Like, when do they come after 21 Studios? When do they come after the Redman Group?
Right.
Because we're organizing power, and I think by organizing it, it's going to amplify and grow. That's what we're seeing at the convention. We feel that and experience that. But this is very similar, and both are very. They're even more threatening than any individual on this panel, including myself. It's the organization of all of us together that is really intimidating to them, and I think they're really going to hate that when they figure out what the fuck we're doing with events, shows, all the the media we're putting out, everything like that. Because it's very hard to ban. It's decentralized, right? This is one channel with one show, but we can also put this on many other platforms and publish it through all the speakers. Same thing with 21Con and 21 Studios. So I thought I'd just kind of share that. Donovan?
Yeah, real quick. Nephew of Walter White, James Heisenberg, with the $20 super chat says, do you guys think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez will attempt a run at the presidency? She seems to have a rising star feel similar to Obama. I heard.
I hope so. I hope so.
Answer.
I'd like to weigh in on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not possible though. She's too young.
All right. So
35.
Right. So that's number one. That's the important piece. She will attempt to run because she's retarded. And no, seriously, if you listen to her talk, what she did, somebody sat her in a room for 12 months and they taught her word salad. Yeah. So she walks out and she just starts spouting stuff that makes no sense. Number one, she can't run for president. Number two, she's probably not going to make it through her first term of Congress if she plays her cards right, because she's already got an ethics complaint against her before she's ever taken office by threatening Donald Trump Jr. So what you're going to see from somebody like her is she's going to become like the super activist, and you're going to see her try to take control of the party. She's got 3 or 4 progressives that are with her. They're trying to change the direction of the Democratic Party. Now, she does have some support behind the scenes from the DNC, and I say that because they don't necessarily go right out to support her, but everything that she talks about, all her agenda, they all support those agendas. So when it comes to somebody like her, you're going to see her out and she's going to be the mouthpiece. She'll say the crazy shit, and then they'll try to walk back about half of it, and they'll try to push as much of it through as they can. But I just don't see her being a successful politician. I see her being more of as a public voice of like Antifa and people like that.
Didn't she threaten to subpoena him?
Yeah,
Yep, she
something
did.
like that. Here's a
Yeah,
question
she
I have
did.
for the
All
whole
right.
panel, especially DDJ. What are the odds of Hillary Clinton running again in 2020? Which I've seen her talk about, I think.
I think she might do it again, man.
I mean, she's definitely crazy enough, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
I
panel?
think she might be in jail.
Well,
Yeah, hopefully.
here's I mean, the thing about Hillary is, and I knew how evil she was prior. She has to run again because her narcissism knows no bounds. But she's funding Antifa. She's funding them through front organizations and things like that. I went into this in my series recently about Antifa Exposed, and one of the things that people don't understand is that she just wants power. And this is really, it's kind of funny about this, because this is one of the things about feminism is feminism just wants power. When you talk about these toxic feminists compared to like regular women, these women just want power. She embodies that. She will attempt to run, but honestly, I don't think she's going to get past the primary. And I think that the big issue that the left has right now, they have a demographics problem, because they are trying to act as though they are the voice of the common person. But every one of those people are one percenters. They're all multimillionaires. You look at Nancy Pelosi, you look at Hillary Clinton, you look at the Obamas, you look at all the faces in leftist politics. They're all millionaires, or they're all multimillionaires, and they stand for the 1%. And then on top of that, I think the average age is like 70. So in this kind of environment, many of these people that have the best chance of winning an election are going to be relatively unelectable because they're so old. That's why they're looking to people like Ocasio-Cortez, even though she's too young to run. They don't have anybody. That's why they're trying to push Beto O'Rourke, because he's the closest thing that they have to somebody that's a potentially serious politician. And really, the only track record he has is being a loser. So that's they got nobody.
Anyone else on the panel will weigh in on that? Rollo? I know you've written a couple posts on the first
Yeah,
female president.
that was the theme of my that blog post was the first female president, and in that I sort of explored this idea that well, actually two ideas. The first idea was that the feminine imperative which is the sort of the catch-all phrase that I use for the village, or the resistance, I guess would probably be a better terminology, but how they believed that it was her turn. It was Hillary's turn. I mean, that was literally their marching cry was, it's her turn now. We had Barack Obama. We had the first black president. Now we're going to have the first female president, and it's her turn. And it was not about, well, not so much about Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump. It was he versus she. And each one of these candidates represented an embodiment of this almost, the most intense, gestalt of the feminine imperative versus the masculine imperative. And to the point where big name companies were investing all kinds of money in their advertising and all kinds of money, even in their shows, even like I think it was House of Cards, it predicted that it was going to be Hillary Clinton who was going to be in office. And so they changed the narrative of their show to accommodate the fact that Hillary would be in office. And so they're going to make Claire Underwood the first female president, right, to sort of coincide with that. Well, when Trump defeated Hillary, it was a victory of he over she, and that just threw these people for a loop. It was so certain that she was going to win, that she was going to win, and he took it away from her. That this is what's driven these women to just be, being apoplectic about the whole thing. And I think that you're going to see that energy, that real hatred of anything masculine, anything conventionally masculine. That was the other thing I was going to say, is that I think in the coming years, at least the next, I would say probably really the next decade at least, but I would say within the next 5 years, you're going to see they're going to ramp up this anti-masculine, anything that has to do with men, anything that has to do with a male of the species is going to be removed. We're trying to remove men from the language right now. When I was talking to Pat Campbell yesterday, we were talking about this kid Desmond, who is this drag queen.
Oh Jesus!
Who is an 11-year-old drag queen, and we were talking about this, and I said this is an indication of exactly what I've been saying is that they have to keep getting to our kids earlier and earlier and earlier. And it's not so much girls as it is boys. They want boys to transition into girls. They want boys to become girls. They want to remove anything masculine. So when a boy decides that he wants to be a girl or he wants to be a drag queen, they're going to Good Morning America and, Michael Strahan and everybody's just clapping for this kid and saying, oh, this is great. You're breaking these gender boundaries or something at 11 years old. That's so good. Let's praise this. Let's reinforce this. Whereas if we're sexualizing this kid and had that been a girl, people would have lost their shit. Like this kid had gone to a gay strip club and did his act at a gay strip club. I said, well, what if you had taken a girl and put her on the pole? Would you be, at a strip club, would you be praising that? Or would you
they
be
would have shut the
thinking that's
internet down,
horrifying?
dude.
Yeah, they would have shut the internet down. But you put a boy in there as acting like a drag queen, and they're okay with that. First of all, they're grooming our kids for pedophilia. But second of all, and most importantly, they are doing this because they want to remove the man. And I've got several posts on this as well. I've noticed this since 2014, 2013, that they want to remove anything conventionally masculine from our language, because they're hoping that in the space of a generation or two that we'll forget about anything masculine, and it's this complete transfer of power. It's exactly what we were talking about before with the I think it was in the 2017 the 2017 21 convention. We were talking about just how feminism is this power grab. It's not about equality. It's about a transference of power. And I just got somebody sent me this morning because I think maybe he wanted me to talk about it on today's show. But I got this new infographic about the consumer power of women right now, and just how they're not just the primary consumer. Okay, they have become this force that can influence social agendas. They're a force that can control consumerism. It's just the money that's flowing through. And you want to talk about we want to take I think it was TFM was saying something about how you want to take away women's rights. Well, the more buying power they have, the more decision-making power that they have with money, that becomes more and more impossible, and it becomes more likely that we're going to see a collapse rather than some sort of generational shift between men and women.
Let's move on to Donovan. Donovan, you've been trying again for a little while.
Yeah, just real quick. The state of the manosphere, as far as I'm concerned, it's pretty strong. Me personally, I've experienced tremendous growth. My show has really taken off. I've invested back into the show. You guys can see all my surroundings. But the Redman Group and the 21 studios, the 21 convention has really, really helped. Somebody in the chat, Dimitri Watt, said no form of sodomy is good. I respectfully disagree. I believe in sodomizing sluts. But here's where it really gets real. And this is where I think that listen, I'm not going to try to come off as some sort of political aficionado. I know enough not to be an idiot. I know Donald Trump. I know Hillary Clinton. I may know a few names that most people don't know, but I don't have this political knowledge. But I will tell you this. I remember on November 8th, 2016, when Trump won the election, and other people probably had this prediction. We're going to have the largest voter turnout in U.S. history come 2020. Let's make no mistake about that. And if anyone's going to unseat Trump, it's going to have to be someone who is the polar opposite of him. In other words, they're going to have to be an extreme leftist, because, and again, you have to sort of fight fire with fire. Trump's an extreme guy, and I'm using air quotes for you guys listening. I don't know who can take him on. I don't know who can beat him. Hopefully nobody can, but that's the way it is. But here's how this election cycle is going to help guys like us, specifically on this panel, is we're the only group other than, and Real Social Dynamics has sort of taken their stuff off the internet with all these parties in Miami and Vegas and Ibiza, but they're not into self-improvement. They're into helping you get one night stands and then nothing else after that. We're helping men on a molecular level to improve their lives in so many ways that women become merely a good side effect of your lifestyle. But we are going to be in the crosshairs. We are the first group who has ever really taken the power of the manosphere off of the web. We just had a 21 convention. We had hundreds of men in one place talking about man shit. improving men's lives, et cetera, et cetera. We had a reporter from a prominent newspaper try to sneak in to one of our ancillary events.
And let's clarify too. This is for almost a week. This is like 4 or 5 days long. This wasn't like a day or two. This is like almost a full week.
Yeah, this is almost a full week, and we did the Red Man Group live. This is legit, and so when Anthony and Rollo and Richard, guys, they are going to come after us, and when they come after us, not only do we have to be ready for the attacks, we got to be ready for the success, because when they start talking shit about us in the media, people are going to come here out of curiosity. Some people are going to stick, most people are not. But what it comes down to is that this current election cycle, I think it's going to help us. I think it's going to shoot us into the stratosphere.
Cool. Next, modern life dating. Jonathan, what do you got?
Yeah, basically, I think the overall point I would like to make is that I just think that more men are waking up in general, and that there's slowly but surely red pill truths are becoming more commonplace. Like common sense is regaining strength again. I would say in no particular order, but I think Trump winning was the biggest thing. It was like the biggest red pill for a lot of people. I think a lot of men voted for Trump basically just because they didn't want a female president, because they would think that these girls would act completely out of control. Could you imagine American girls if there was a female president, already with their entitlement and bad attitudes, walking around being like, well, there's a female president now, so you got to do what I say. I think a lot of guys calculated that into their voting. And the fact that since Trump has won, he has been constantly attacked by the mainstream media for 2 years. And the fact that he ended the Korea situation, that alone should be like, okay, he's a good president. He brought North Korea and South Korea to a treaty, and like they stopped their official war. And the presidents touched other land. Like, North Korean president came to South Korea. South Korean president went to North Korea. Another big red pill is in the gaming community. A lot of these Twitch thoughts have been get called out. PewDiePie had that huge thing this year with Alinity, when he called her out for being manipulative, and he broke down her female manipulation live on his YouTube channel, which is the most watched YouTube channel in the history of YouTube. So he's red pilling a lot of the youth on like deceptive and manipulative female behavior. A lot of these other Twitch girls have been pretending to be single and receiving thousands of dollars of donations from men, and they're being exposed now. These guys are finding out. The thought audit was amazing as well. The fact that PewDiePie is the #1 mainstream media attack source in regards to like Wall Street Journal, and even YouTube is not having him in the YouTube rewinds, which is like a recap of the YouTube every year. And this YouTube rewind for 2018 also had like the most dislikes. And then the last thing I want to, it's slept on, but the fact, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and The Last Jedi, how he was like blatantly attacking men and like blatantly shitting on men. The backlash from the entire Star Wars fan base has been so huge that like Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, has to like come in and step in and try to do some, damage control, because people are really, really hating Kathleen Kennedy, and Star Wars as a brand is suffering, and Disney's starting to get some slack, getting some flack for that as well.
Man. It's getting out of control.
It is. So basically, I see guys waking up, and in my opinion, they're going one of two directions. No offense, but the guys who are cowards, they become MGTOWs, and the guys who are not cowards decide to step up and man up and do what they have to do. They come to the red pill, the Red Man Group. And overall, I think people are waking up. I think things are trending in the right direction. And the fact that the mainstream media and government is getting more desperate, it shows to me that we're doing the right thing. Especially, it's so sad to see this 11-year-old boy, Desmond, in some of these interviews. He looks like he's drugged up, sitting there between these people. And, I just think they're getting more desperate. And when you see somebody getting desperate, it usually means that they're losing, or they're on the brink of losing something.
Ryan?
Good. Very good.
Thanks for that, by the way, MLD. Ryan, you're there?
Right.
Welcome.
So, thing with Rollo's speech is he's 100% right. Male responsibility, it's being removed. Back in the golden age in the 1950s, guys came back from the war. They bought houses. They bought cars. They were the primary consumer. And so life was geared towards their fantasy, the male provider. And we're kind of attached to that, and it's gone. 100% right. Women spend money, and they're biologically going to outspend us. There's no way to deal with that. They would go into huge amounts of debt. mean, most guys here who have or a lot of guys on the channel who have married women, friends married, family married. How many times has the guy gotten married to a girl that comes with a load of debt? It's like a reverse dowry. Oh, it is. It's fucked. So here's the positive
great way
message
to
on
put
this. Yeah. So here's the positive message on this. It used to be society gave you responsibility. Do your family, be the provider. And it was very easy for us to have self-actualization because it was handed to us on a platter. I kind of talk about this in my article, Sex and Violence. So now that's gone. And we've known about it for about a decade. I know Ian Ironwood asked this basic question in his article, The Praxeology of the Dominant Man. It's that how do you establish happiness for you and those and your tribe, considering all these things here? I mean, add to that, women, since they are also very more agreeable than men, they work much better in these large bureaucracies. I mean, most people here are dissatisfied with jobs in the corporate world because they don't see action turning into result. And so it's just kind of like spinning your wheels. And it drives a guy who likes to produce, it drives him crazy. And so that's the big question. Like, we can sit here and we can bring up these things, and it's good that we are, so that way people are aware of them. But at the same time, you have to realize, like, you're freed from your shackles. You no longer have to be the plow horse, and you're actively discouraged by your divorced ex-wife to do so. And that's a question I would ask that every person watching this ask themselves, is that how are you going to get self-actualization when society doesn't feed you on a silver platter your life script? So you don't be the provider. Women are going to be great. Women are earning more money. Women are going to be in the top spots. Well, you're basically free now. So what are you going to do with it? That's my only thought on this one. So if I can leave this with a hopeful message, it's going to be that.
What I'm going to do is join your newsletter.
I love it.
Dude, it's the only place I can talk without a filter.
Yeah.
You can't.
We had a super chat question there, guys. Shao Khan with the $10 super chat says Google will probably ban you and any other red pill groups the closer we get to the election. They will do anything to make Donald Trump. I think you wanted to say lose. It said loose. Maybe that wasn't there. What do you guys think?
Do you mind if I weigh in on that?
Yeah. We need to get. Well, hang on a second. Let's get Tex in, and then we'll hop into that.
Sorry.
Tex, you have some commentary. Then we'll get DDJ.
Yeah, I'm gonna take it back a little bit where Ryan was headed for a while there. I got to watch feminism take hold in the 60s and 70s, and I got to see it in my own family. I got to see it around me. I got to see men go along this way, and we're getting beaten down, and we're steadily taking it up the ass every chance, right? And so all of a sudden, Trump comes along, and he's brash, and he's bold, and he's manly, and he's out there saying stuff. And everyday guys are going, it's okay to do this. All right, I can start talking and speaking my mind. So this whole program is about, where's the Manosphere going? Where's it been in 2018? Where's it going in 2019? I think it's heavily tied to the feelings that it's okay. We can now start to say, okay, take pride in who you are and what's going on around you. And we've been beaten down for so damn long. And I think the Trump presidency and the Manosphere are very well tied together. And I can see it going on for the next couple of years. And 2019 is going to blow up because all of a sudden you got guys like me in my age group that are starting to pay attention. They got grandkids. You got guys that are young fathers starting to look at this thing. You got guys spinning plates. Everybody's saying, look, it's okay to be a man. And by God, it's okay to talk about it again. And we're all kind of coming out of the closet, basically. So
man, it's not just okay to be a man. It's fucking awesome to be a man.
It's fucking amazing. And if you got soap, if you can sell soap at the same time, man,
I'm the soap baron. The soap baron.
Our soap merchant.
I want to get Rich and Drew in a second, but first, DDJ, you had a comment earlier.
Yeah, so I agree with this idea that they have to silence everybody when it comes to the Manosphere and when it comes to basically Google going after these people, which is why you got to bring the fight to them. And what I mean by that is that I'm actually in the process next week, probably mid next week. I'm going to actually be releasing a video about Google and antitrust and big tech antitrust. And I know that YouTube Law recently did a video about that. And I've been doing videos over the last few months about how people who were targeted by YouTube, targeted by censorship, targeted by payment processors, we need to go to court and we need to use the tools at our disposal there to hold these people accountable. This is actually, Texas Dom, I'm a little bit older like you. This is one of those things that we saw, in the 70s and the 80s. You saw a lot of feminists. That's how they got hold and control of the country, is they went to court and they got these court cases ruled in their favor. And that's how they were able to change society so that women got the upper hand so that feminists took control of the halls of power. Well, we have a conservative Supreme Court now, and Ginsburg is on her way out. So Trump is going to be able to put another judge on the bench, I believe, before his term is out. And I honestly don't think there's going to be anybody who can successfully challenge him at 2020. And I'm not saying that because like I'm just super pro Trump. I'm saying that specifically because there's nobody in the field right now that can gain any kind of traction. Now, but when it comes to like organizations like Google, it's a huge antitrust issue. And this isn't the first time they've been held accountable for antitrust issues. But I think the more men are talking about accountability, the more we're talking about making our lives better and things like that, I think the more people are going to say, yeah, that accountability is important and we need to hold these people accountable. And when the AG sees, oh, you know, there's 50,000 people that are interested in holding these large tech companies accountable for their antitrust actions and for their anti-competitive practices, now all of a sudden we're cooking with fire because we have a conservative Supreme Court. So if you look at the long game and you plan on going to the Supreme Court for day one, you're already prepared emotionally, you're already prepared financially because you're the government, and you can bring accountability to the table in a way that they aren't expecting at all. And I say that because I think it's important because these are conversations that a lot of people have. And then I guess my final thing is this. I'm MGTOW, and I'm the guy who's talking about this. And there's a lot of things on my channel that I talk about where we can bring accountability to the table that very few other people are talking about in that way. So I think that when it comes to this sort of thing, we have to make sure that we're building bridges and we're focusing on common ground. No disrespect to anybody else. So with that, I'll turn it over.
Right. I just want to jump in here right quick is that just to answer this guy's question too. Yeah, I think pretty much everybody on this panel and pretty much everybody in the Manosphere is well aware of the censorship that's being leveled against us. That's one of the reasons, like, I have to say I'm cautiously optimistic because when I'm working with Anthony and we're working on the next convention or something like that, what is my first concern, Anthony? My first concern is always security.
Oh yeah.
It's always making sure that whoever is showing up is going to be, we're not going to have to worry about an incident, whatever that incident ends up being. But I really think that the larger we get, the more influence we have, and I think we're going to see that in the coming years. The more careful we have to be. When you're talking about the 22 convention, my first impulse was we are going to generate such a shitstorm of controversy with this that that will be the first one you have major organized protests for. I'll predict that right now.
Well, we're taking the fight. We're taking the fight to them. We're going after. We're going to educate women and de-indoctrinate them from the propaganda they've been fed for the past.
And I also think that guys need to be, especially going forward, guys need to be careful about putting all of their eggs, all their financial and revenue eggs in one basket. If you are dependent, I was going to say diversify. If you are dependent on a blog, if you are dependent on your Twitter account, if you're financially dependent, yes, on your YouTube, and you are involved in the Manosphere, or you're saying, oh man, great, any day, and Roosh proved this to me last year. You want to talk about year in review? Roosh proved this to me last year, that it can all be taken away from you in a moment's notice. And it's for all the money, I mean, I make a good chunk of change. I'm not gonna lie. I make a good chunk of money, but I have other venues so that if all of that goes away, I'm still gonna be okay, right? But I think that guys are deciding, hey, look what you can get into. You can be your own brand. You can be your own. It's like what I talked about in the 21 conventions, the brand of me. Right, we want to be Donovan has everybody on this panel pretty much has their own brand, and I think it's really important that we understand the mechanics and understand how frail a position that we're really in with respect to our revenue streams. Because if all you are doing is depending on YouTube for your revenue stream, you need to diversify. You need to find some other way around that. They will find some way to censor you.
I have some really good news. So we have so much going on in 21 Studios now. I don't even know where to start or end sometimes. One of the things we'll be doing in January and February is actually converting 21 University into a new brand and turning that into a YouTube for the Manosphere. It will not be open for any creator. I will only invite certain speakers to contribute content in addition to our own content. That includes everyone on this panel. So that's actually coming up pretty soon, and that's actually it's happening a lot faster than I thought it would, and we're kicking ass with it. That's just one more project we have in the pipeline, but we're creating a YouTube for the Manosphere where guys, everyone on this panel can upload your own content to a much more secure platform where, guess what? I am not going to ban you. For me to ban you is basically unthinkable. So we'll see how that goes. There's obviously risks with that, hosting, payment processors, all that shit. But yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be open. It'll be open as well as kind of a paywall thing too. It'll make sense when we launch it. I'll talk more about it later. With that said, lots of good news. Rich, you wanted to go next, and then
I
Drew.
just wanted to chime in. So a couple things. I mean, I was actually thinking we should do a Redman Group episode on how to be anti-fragile in today's environment. So maybe we can talk about that offline. I also want to thank DDJ for joining us today. Yeah, I also want to thank DDJ for joining us today. It's it's good to have him on the panel and contribute. He's got some very rational, logical thoughts. I wanted to add as well, because we've been talking about politics. I'm Canadian, so I mean, as a general rule, I don't spend much time watching the news, following politics. I don't give a shit about this tranny that's 11 years old. What I've been seeing as far as the year in review from my perspective is I'm seeing more men speak up, which is needed. And it happens on social media platforms, but it's still not happening enough. When people are saying and doing dumb shit that's counterproductive to allowing ourselves to optimize our lives, become better versions of ourselves, enjoy a more masculine, independent life. There's too many guys, I think, still that are still a little bit too quiet. Like, I see the opinions being voiced more in private spaces. I see the opinions being voiced in men's groups. Like, I see it in these dads groups on Facebook when some guy basically cucks out and he's like, I think my wife's going to leave me, and what do I do? And somebody chimes in and they say something like, well, just tell her that you'll do 150% of everything that she wants, and the dishes and the childcare and then she'll have sex with you and you'll save your marriage. And then you see like a couple of guys chime in and fix that. But I want to see guys do that in a more open environment. I want to see more guys do that on Facebook. I want to see more guys do that on Twitter and push back on these retarded agendas that don't serve humanity as a whole, not just men, but humanity as a whole. And I'm seeing a little bit more. I've seen a little bit more this year, but I'd love to see it a lot more. I think it'd be great if more guys were less pussified and less afraid to step on people's toes. Because I think part of it is also, the thirsty beta outlook, where it's like, let's just orbit around her as much as possible. That's how we created these thoughts on, what was that, at Stitcher or something else? Twitch, that was it. The thought audit.
Oh, that's such a boomer.
Yeah, like all these retards were throwing money at these, booby models with their push-up bras, trying to get attention on these platforms. And it's like, if this got called out more often and it was dealt with more often, the idea would spread more. Like, let's stop trying to, bow down and put women up on a pedestal and make yourself the prize. And that's what I'd love to see more of. But it's starting to happen. Like, I started to see that a little bit more this year.
That's what women want too, man. That's exactly what they want. Fuck yeah.
Absolutely, 100%.
It's all online. Drew Bay, what do you got going on, man?
Bunch of stuff. Actually, Rich covered a bunch of the things that I was going to say. But first, on the anti-fragility, I was going to mention earlier, everybody should have an email list. Everybody should have a couple different backups so that the people that follow them have a way to stay in contact. I'm in fitness. I'm not doing anything that is directly related to red pill. I'm not doing anything that is directly anti-feminist, but just by being open and honest when the topics come up, I know that I'm at risk. Just being associated with this wouldn't change it, but I've got a bunch of backups in place, and I think this is probably better for another show, but yeah, I think everybody here should have email, they should have multiple social accounts, and they should have some sort of unrelated backup in case they do get deplatformed.
Yeah.
In terms of the also what Rich was talking about, a lot of what I see with men's reactions to this stuff is they seem to be more worried about what other people are thinking in terms of them being shamed. Seems like shaming people is the only counter that a lot of the feminists, a lot of the soy men, I won't even call them men, but the soy boys have. And the simple response to that is to not accept it. For like when women say, "Oh, you're mansplaining."
Yep,
that shouldn't even mean. Mansplaining is completely meaningless. It's what a woman says to avoid admitting defeat when she's losing an argument with a male.
Boom.
It's sexism.
Yeah, it's rampant sexism.
Boom. Hell yeah. Yeah.
We need to teach people this, that none of these objections to being pro-masculine are legitimate, and that they should not be concerned with the opinions of people who think they are.
PDJ, did you want to hop in?
Yeah, real quickly. First and foremost, anytime somebody tells me I'm mansplaining and it's a female, I tell her she's being she-tarded. Secondly,
I'm going to use that.
PDJ's got a little bit of douchebag in him. I like it.
let me tell you, hard, fast, and continuously is my motto. All right.
Awesome.
I'm not
I
having
didn't
it.
see that one coming. Jesus.
All right.
Grandpas are the most base dudes on this panel. Both of you.
I'm telling you, man. Yeah.
Whoa.
So, but the other thing I want to say is that Drew, the reason you're going to get targeted is not because you're in the manosphere. The reason you're going to get targeted is because you focus on fitness. Any man here who's actually been to a gym, any man here who's improved themselves physically, any martial artist, anybody who's into MMA, a boxer, anybody like that, do you know how you become successful? You become successful through consistency, through dedication, through commitment, and through merit. And those things right there are extremely important, because if you look at the agenda of the left, they are pushing participation trophies and show up prizes, and the biggest loser is the winner. And physical fitness doesn't do that. Physical fitness says, look, you don't necessarily have to compare yourself to the guy next to you, but you need to compare yourself to where you've been and where you personally can go. And that, I think, is extremely important. And that message empowers men. And that message alone, even being non-political, that scares women. Because once you empower men to show them a new way free of gynocentric validation, now all of a sudden you're threatening these women. Because again, they're not the gynocentric cucks anymore, going around and talking about this idea of, being beta orbiters for these women. And to touch on Richard Cooper's point, look, guys, anybody listening to this, if you can't touch it, you don't pay for it. And don't never pay $100 for pussy that's $4.99.
I've actually had people in arguments attempt ad hominem attacks based on my appearance, calling me a gym bro, as if it was some kind of an insult to be in shape, or meathead, or these other things. And I wish I could give credit for the quote. I don't remember who said it, but somebody said that people on the left absolutely hate physical fitness. They hate the gym because it's equal opportunity, but the outcome is based on your effort, and you can't steal anybody else's results.
Yeah, I've seen that.
This is why, real quick, this is why you can't walk into a doctor's office now and get testosterone replacement therapy. They make you jump through a bunch of hoops. We all know about performance enhancing drugs in sports, about how they're the devil and they're the scarlet letter and this and that and the other. But the main reason is that testosterone breeds masculinity. It gives us even more of an advantage. If you're on TRT, if you're a guy in your 40s like me and you're on TRT, you get the physical advantages. You get the fountain of youth. Just like DDJ said, and just like DDJ Andrew said, people like to shame people who are fit. Oh, you're just a bro. You're a meathead, this and that and the third. But what they're really telling you is that you're too much of a man. So this is why testosterone replacement therapy and testosterone-based drugs are sort of borderline taboo. Oh, you want to be one of those guys, or I would never be one of those meathead, musclehead guys. No. The reason why they don't like testosterone is because it makes men more men. That's the reason why. That's the real reason I want to tell anybody.
Rich Cooper?
Yeah. Totally co-sign what Donovan's talking about there. I also wanted to add, there's so much push in the mainstream media that we have to push back on. I don't have cable. I haven't had cable for 6 years, and I don't know where I saw this advertisement. I think I was watching something like 90 Day Fiance or some shit, because somebody sent me a link, and that it had embedded in the link the advertisements for other shows they wanted to promote on that specific mainstream media channel. And they're putting out shows now, and I couldn't believe this because I haven't seen cable in so long, but they're putting out shows now like My Big Fat Life. And they've got some 400-pound Tess Holiday looking land whale pushing, the normalization of this is some beauty standard. And I'm guessing it's obese people sitting at home that don't get off their couch and go to the gym or eat healthy that are sitting watching this horse shit. But push back in every area that you see this nonsense, guys. If you want word to spread, ideas precede action. It's on you. It's not just on men on this panel that are putting out blogs, that are putting out content, that are making videos, that are generating email lists and sharing ideas. Share them publicly, share them on social media, and shame it. Have fun shaming. Shame fat people. It works.
Fuck yeah.
He's right. It does.
Donovan? Or no, who's next?
I'll go.
We gotta get Tex. Wait, Tex is in line, I think. Or no, Rollo, go first. No, you're good, Rollo. Go.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say is that just to sort of add on to this is I think that actually coming in the next the next decade, I would say, it's already starting, is you are going to see more and more villainization or demonization of men who are speaking out. I think you're going to see this on every level. I mean, it's one thing to be demonized on Twitter. It's another thing to be in popular media or to be cast as the villain in a TV show or something like that. Somebody just sent me this article about how in the next Punisher movie or episodes by Netflix, the villain in it is going to be an alt-right, quote unquote, Christian fundamentalist,
oh God,
guy from this side, from this side of the manosphere, right? And I think that's probably just one example of what you're going to see in the social narrative coming up, particularly in the election cycle, is there's going to be this want to condition the populace to believe that if you are in any way a positive masculine or even conventionally masculine man, because it's never going to be considered positive. If you are a conventionally masculine man, you will be the enemy. You will be you'll be cast as the villain. And I think that we're going to see that across the board. It's not just going to be in like Netflix. It's going to be in pretty much every aspect of our popular culture.
X.
Yeah, I was going to say the only way this thing grows in the next couple of years, and exponential growth is what we need to win, is for the guys out there watching it to start having a voice. Rich touched on this earlier. I mean, I issued a challenge within our fraternity of excellence to some of these guys to quit consuming and start creating. And good Lord, it was an explosion. Like 4 or 5 guys started blogs, and words are coming out of these guys' mouths, and they're good. I mean, they're really good stuff. And so every guy out there watching this thing right now, you've got a voice, you've got an idea, put it into writing somehow. Get it on Twitter, get it on YouTube, get it out there. The only way we grow is that everybody starts to chip in.
I have a positive question. Thanks for that, Tex. I have a question for the entire panel, a positive question, something I've thought about in recent weeks and months. What do you guys think, each of you, whoever wants to chime in, what do you think the possibility is we'll see kind of a roaring 20s, similar to the 1920s, assuming Trump wins again, assuming the culture keeps pushing back positively with the manosphere and everything else, in a healthier, more rational direction that we're seeing the beginnings of in the recent years and right now? Obviously, there's a lot of polarity to that and a lot of friction. But I thought that's a distinct possibility that Trump wins again. We have another 4 years of him pushing a, not perfect, but a masculine direction for the country and a healthier direction. And then everything surrounding it, from the manosphere and beyond. So what do you guys think the possibility of that is and what that might look like in the 20s? We might actually see a very positive turnaround.
I think it's absolutely going to happen. And because if you let the left talk about their ideas, if you give enough rope, they'll hang themselves. They have pushed the pendulum so far in that direction that I think all the people in the middle are starting to recognize it for the nonsense it is. And when we talk left and right, we're usually thinking, about just a very small percentage of people that are on either side. It's all those people in the middle who don't pay as much attention as they should outside of election years that need to be considered, need to be influenced. And I think the crazy on the left is driving most of those people in the middle further right. So we're going to, and I hate to say left right because it's not a two-dimensional thing. It's not a left right continuum. It's a much more complicated thing than that. But their craziness and letting them keep pushing things in that direction is going to hurt them ultimately. And we're going to see more people say, These people are nuts. I don't want to have anything to do with it. And things will swing back in the other direction, at least for a while.
Okay, Rich?
Yeah, I just want to read a tweet that I retweeted yesterday from B-Rob before I kind of go back to my feedback. But he said, it's the year 2084. Jobs no longer exist. The masses are kept pacified with universal basic income, sex box, and virtual reality worlds. An elite class of entrepreneurs lives in the sky. They thought ahead. They built businesses improving the lives of the masses. Be an entrepreneur. This is one potential outcome, and I think things are going to get a hell of a lot worse. I don't see anything coming back to the roaring 20s anytime soon. All empires end. We've seen Greek Empire, Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire. You can go right down the list. They all end. I think the West is on a precipice right now. And I've said this before with some one-on-one talks with some of these other great men. I think that we're in the midst of a Cold War, and I don't see it getting any better. And it's a Cold War between the left and the right. The difference is, and they won't accept this, we have more power. We have masculinity. We have conservative values. We have the guns. Push comes to shove, you're going to see things change dramatically. But I think things are going to get a lot more worse progressively over the years, and there's going to be a lot more friction, a lot more bumping heads. Donovan, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with Richard. I don't, and I'll put my argument this way. I don't think we'll get back to the roaring 20s, the prohibition age and all that stuff with the flappers and the girls with the long cigarettes and whatnot. But I do think that we are headed toward, I don't want to say civil war, but it's going to be as close to that as you can probably imagine. The thing is things are getting better in terms of masculinity, at least in the undercurrent. And maybe I'm saying this because we're all in this kind of bubble, like, we're all around like-minded men, like-minded people. But on the outside, you look on Facebook, you look on social media, the tide is starting to turn. Some guy puts up there, yes, I've just married my best friend, and you see those comments, she doesn't have to be your best friend. Guys are being red pilled. Something else that happened over 2018, speaking of the year in review, is that we decided that we were not going to let females infiltrate the Manosphere or the Red Man group. Red Pill Women has attempted to do that. That is an abject disaster. That's a tire fire. That's a dumpster fire. It is what it is. We had one such female try to sort of get a chink in the armor, and she was summarily dismissed. And I think that was the beginning and the end of women trying to infiltrate our particular group. This is paramount, gentlemen, if we want to continue to grow. And if we ever want to get the advantage on this culture war, this cultural civil war, we have to continue to make this a male-only space. Maybe I'm going to be the Neanderthal of the group, but we don't need female opinion on male issues. We've had female opinions on male issues for the last 6+ decades, and men have done whatever we can do to try to make females happy, and all we've gotten from them is a collective fuck you. So it's time to take that back. But the only way we're going to take it back and keep it back is if we keep this a male-only space. We can get back to the roaring 20s at some point. I'm not going to be around to see it. I'll be 6 feet under. But as long as we keep what we do on some man shit, I think we'll be okay.
DJ?
I agree with Donovan. And Donovan, I got to say, wow, you sound kind of MGTOW. I mean, that's kind of the stuff that TFM and I talk about a lot. I agree with you, and I agree with Richard 100%. And here's the thing. I don't necessarily think it's going to be civil war per se, but we're seeing pushes for insurrection right now. We're seeing some sort of shit hit the fan moment right now. And I think that what we're going to see, instead of kind of a roaring 20s, I think we're already starting to see it. And that is that man to man, we are red pilling one another. And I want to kind of take a little bit of a segue here for a second, and I'm looking at the stream right now. I see we've got 591 people watching. We only have 144 likes.
Uh-oh.
Guys, if you're watching the stream right now, support the stream with those likes. Bump it up a little bit. Make sure that you show your support. But that said, when it comes to this whole 1920s idea, I think men are starting to have more in-depth conversations. Steel sharpens steel. There's a lot more mentorship happening. There's a lot more conversations about things that are, like what Donovan says, man shit. So we're seeing this sort of thing happen right now all throughout the manosphere. And the more that we get together, find our common ground, and talk about these things, the stronger those things are going to be. And when that civil insurrection comes, when that shit hit the fan moment comes, whether it's internal or external, whether it's financial or whether it's civil war, I think we're going to be in a situation where we're going to be able to get through it to the other side. But I think that kind of, quote unquote renaissance that we're seeing, or that we're going to see from 2020 forward, once Trump takes office again, I think it's going to be one of those things where it's not going to be shameful to be a man anymore. Men, like a lot of people have said here, men are actually having these conversations with one another on Facebook. They're having the conversations online. And we're starting to see, I would imagine that these things are going to carry over into the gym, into workout classes, into male spaces, whether it be, gun clubs or motorcycle clubs or whatever. We're going to start seeing a lot more of that as things happen. So that's my input on it.
Stuff.
Thanks for that. Donovan, hit some super chats.
Yeah, real quick, shout out to Jim M with the $20 super chat. Jesse Carrillo with the $5 super chat says, what would be your approach in introducing your father to the red pill? We'll get to that later because that is a very short answer. Motive $9.99 super chat says, quote, Ryan said it, used to agonize over the horrors of being a thankless plow horse. Today, a few older women support me financially while I develop the musical career I really want. You are the Pimp Daddy OG. MC with the $5 super chat says, MGTOW aren't an enemy. The Manosphere is a Hydra. FYI, I couldn't send a super chat if the word itself didn't have periods in it. Don't know about that. What are your thoughts? I don't know if anybody had any closing thoughts on what we were just talking about, but what are your thoughts on the whole approaching your father? Hey, how do I red pill my dad? Yeah, here's a copy of the Rational Mail, Pop.
I got nothing on that one.
I've dealt with this quite. Actually, that's one of the reasons I wrote Positive Masculinity, because there's an aspect in there of how I loved what DDJ said about multi-generational mentoring. I think that is going to be a key element, particularly in the Manosphere coming up. But I think that that kind of dovetails into what he was talking about, multi-generational. I think that it's important that you treat your father just like anybody else. I mean, again, unplugging guys from the Matrix is dirty work. Understand there's going to be some resistance to that, particularly if the guy has developed his identity based on his blue pill conditioning. It's really tough. I think the only thing that is tougher is having a guy who is awakened while married and he's 70 some odd years old and he's looking back on his life going, holy shit, what just happened? Understand you're going to have to be real delicate with that kind of stuff. But I think unplugging your dad, maybe take him to the 21 convention, start talking to him, start pointing out incidences of where like your red pill lens is sort of being triggered. Like if you're going to go and you're going to say, well, I'm listening to this music and I'm listening to the lyrics of this music. It's like, hey dad, listen to this music. It's really kind of pansy, right? Or this is really blue pill. This is what I mean by blue pill, dad. If you're watching a movie, or if you're watching just like what Jonathan was saying, you're watching the Last Jedi or some shit like that. You're like, I can't believe they got the purple hair lady from HR to be a character on this on this show, right? You have to point those things out to them and just keep. And you don't have to be like, you don't have to give them like this big, huge, come to Jesus speech. Just point those things out to them, because what's going to happen for these guys is eventually, particularly if they have invested themselves in that kind of blue pill ideal, like they want everything to work out according to their blue pill ideals, and it's not working out for them. There's going to be a moment of crisis where that guy's going to break down. And so what's going to happen is once you have all of those incidences sort of like built up, you're like, if you show them, here's a point, here's a point, here's a point, here's a point, and then when he has that moment of crisis, then you can go, remember all that stuff I was telling you about? Right. Here's where we're at. And this is why you need to read the Rational Mail. This is why you need to, start reading these blogs. This is why you need to sort of listen to this and undo the bullshit, unfuck your life basically. And unlearn the stuff that you've been learning. And it's really hard. I understand that, because it's somebody that you love. Guys have this problem with their brothers too. Like one of their brothers will be getting married to a bitch that they know
37 with 4 kids
that should never. Yeah, exactly. It's a single mommy with, exactly. But you want to steer them right. I think there's when guys unplug and they really see start seeing things with a red pill lens, that is when they want to be evangelists. That's when they want to go, man, I want to tell everybody about this. It's changed my life, and I'm living a better life because I know all of this stuff. I'm red pill aware. That's one of the reasons why I say, why do my eyes hurt? Because you've never used them before. That's what these guys want to do. They want to help out. We were having people at the 21 convention saying, I really want to start a blog. How do I, should I even do that? I'm like, yes, do whatever you possibly can. But understand, you're going to meet resistance. You're going to have that pushback no matter what. And I think a lot of guys get really excited and they want to be evangelists for the red pill, but then they meet that resistance, or then they realize that what they're really up against. And when that happens, when that comes from within their own family, that's when you start to be sort of disenfranchised by your family, particularly if your mother is a strong feminist or a quote unquote strong independent woman, and you start talking about this stuff, you are going to really cause friction within your own family. So these are things that I don't think guys are really contemplate, when they make that transition. So what I would say is just watch out for your chances, wait for your moments, and there's going to be a moment of crisis for your dad, and just make sure that you're ready for that when it happens.
Let's get DDJ in next. I also want to co-sign what Rollo said. If you can get your dad to the 21 convention, that will absolutely change his life, and that's the best shot you have at red pilling him. Above and beyond the book, the issue is getting him to the event. Also, usually sons we allow in half off if a father buys a ticket. However, if you want to bring your dad and you buy a ticket yourself, I'm more than happy to extend the discount in reverse. Bring your dad at half off on a ticket. Fuck yeah. Now let's get DDJ. You wanted to comment on this?
Yeah, I did. I think multi-generational mentorship is extremely important, and it's something that not a lot of us talk about as much as we should. So one of the things that it's interesting, because when you're talking about red pilling your dad, obviously you're talking about a guy who's going to be, over 45 years old on average. One of the things that I've noticed that I try to provide is I don't try to red pill them as much as I try to educate them and let them make the decision for themselves. And one of the ways that you could, because I'll tell you what, the red pill isn't for everybody, right? But one of the ways you can do that is start watching old movies with your dad and go, like for instance, Charles Bronson's Death Wish, or some of those old spaghetti westerns, like the old Clint Eastwood stuff, and be like, Dad, can you imagine if they tried to make that movie today, of how much pushback that would receive? And get them thinking about it and be like, I wish things were like the way they were back then when it came to masculinity not being demonized, and just kind of, subtly drop those hints there and let them think about it, let them mull it over. Because, I'm a little bit older, and some of the guys here on the panel are over 35 years old. And so, it takes us sometimes a little bit more time to think about certain things before we act on it, because we want to look at the consequences and contemplate every other aspect of it. So when it comes to red pilling your father, when it comes to red pilling people in your life, the thing you want to remember is this: provide the education and let nature take its course. Because as long as they are looking at the facts for what they truly are, verifiable facts and observable reality, what you're going to see is you're going to see these guys will red pill themselves. And one of the things I always say to people, I have a martial arts background, is that when you're teaching somebody something, both the instructor and the student learn from it. And you'll see that too, as your father gets older, he's going to teach you things, but he's going to learn from it as well. And so that reverse piece is also there. So when you decide you want to be that red pill evangelist, provide the information, let people do what they're going to do with it, and then move on with your day. Because the more desperate that you sound, the more excited that you sound about it, sometimes what ends up happening is that turns people off. And they think that you're just sounding like you're just like it's some kind of get rich quick scheme or something.
They think you're part of a cult, is what they think.
Right.
Hey, at the end of the day, cults can be more effective than religion if we're keeping it all the way real.
I love this cult. Some is a great cult. Fuck it.
Yeah, let me just add. I was gonna just say same thing DDJ was just going with, but you start talking to your dad about how grandma and grandpa used to live. Talk about how your great grandpa. Start talking about family history and start going back to when times were a little bit simpler. And when men were still allowed to make decisions in their own household, in spite of the law, family law and all that kind of stuff. But go back to your own family history. You'll have a much better start there.
Rich?
Yeah. So just to add to that, I just want to make sure I wasn't muted. Yeah. So just to add to that, I mean, most men after the age of 35, 40 or so are going to have low testosterone levels, especially if they live in like large coastal cities where they're getting bombarded
Holy
with
shit.
fucking Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and all kinds of shit. One of the best things you can do for your dad is get his blood labs fucking sorted out and then get him on TRT. I just got my dad on TRT a couple months ago. He's like 74. He had a heart attack 11 years ago. His cardiologist gave him the green light. His T was low. His endocrine system was all fucked up. He feels a lot better now. If you want to start to improve the level of masculinity and strengthen your family and to red pill them, you're going to need high T levels. Because if you're filling your body with phytoestrogens and all kinds of bullshit, I mean, like women are taking the birth control pill, they're peeing it down the toilet, it gets flushed, they can't clean it out with the water treatment systems, you're drinking it. There's all kinds of things that are bombarding your endocrine system, messing you up. One of the things that you want to do for sure is talk to them about TRT, and you should be on it yourself too. You should get your blood labs checked if you're a dude over 40, because you don't notice it. It happens after the age 30. It's very slow decline. It's hard to notice. You don't really start to feel it until one day you're like, huh, my Johnson's not working anymore. I got a lot more belly fat, and these man boobs are hanging around here, jiggling around. I go to the gym and I see these old men go to the gym and they got these pot bellies sticking out 3 feet. I mean, it enters the room, 3 seconds before the rest of them do. Like, get yourself sorted, get your endocrine system sorted out, and talk to your father about it. Because if you're working on these things right now, these are the things that they never talked about 20, 30, 40 years ago. When you get them on these things, it's going to extend their life. I mean, it is literally the fountain of youth. It's going to do things like delay things like Alzheimer's and so on and so forth. So be attentive to that. It's not just, hey, read this book, manage the health of your family.
Next in line on the panel, we have, who wanted to go next? Was it
Steve? Jump in real quick on the testosterone thing. Real short, almost all of the problems that people in general experience that are associated with aging are either directly or indirectly caused by sarcopenia, loss of muscle mass that occurs over time. Problems with just their ability to do things, their independence, bone density and bone mineral content, insulin sensitivity, glucose metabolism. I could go on and on. If their test is going down, and it will, if they're not on TRT, they're going to lose muscle mass. You lose muscle mass, everything else follows. Even outside of the issue of masculinity, if you care about your dad, if you care about your older relatives in general, you want them to keep as much muscle mass as they possibly can, and they're not going to do it if they don't keep their test high. And if they don't have a doctor that will prescribe them not enough to keep them in the normal normal range for their age, but to keep them at levels that they would be at 20-something, find a different doctor. It is a absolute necessity for long-term health independence. Absolutely. Do it.
Steve, I'll hop in.
Yeah, well, when you look at the minorities, the first thing that we got to look at is getting these motherfuckers off the Democratic plantation of being victims. One thing that I've noticed a lot is that everything y'all were saying is 1,000% spot on. But there's another enemy among our myths, and that is mommy, the boy that was raised by mommy, that also creates these cults of victimhood and problematics. When you have moms speaking negative about the father, they don't want us or this panel, us as a unit. They don't want that information out because it hurts mommy. So what these guys do is they go on our YouTubes. They want to talk shit. They want to do everything they can to try to prevent the information from getting out. Then you got a group of victims out there that always bitch, whine, moan, complain, that never come up with solutions. So as men, we're getting it from all sides, but I think one thing that we're missing is mommy. These young men that were raised with inconsistent discipline, coddling by mommy, bringing in substitutes for the dad, not allowing the father to see them, making sure dad is the enemy, and all things man are enemy. Then you guys come along when all these young men have been taught all their lives that everything is sugar and spice, and when you fall over, mom's going to give you Neosporin and kiss it and make it feel better, and everything's fine. And then these young men go out into the world, and then they realize the world is not a nice place. And then here we are trying to tell them how to be great men, and it goes against mommy. So what they do is then try to protect mommy. So what I'm just saying, yes.
Yeah, I wanted to ask too. Most of these men, many of them are still controlled by their mothers as well, right? Into into adulthood.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, and that's the thing, but that's how it attaches to the democratic plantation that a lot of minorities are going through, because they think if they become a Republican, they're hurting mommy, or if I want to go to that side and vote for Trump, mommy's gonna be mad at me, so I can't make mom mad at me, so I'm gonna stick with mom, and that's just how it is. But we've got another enemy among our midst, and unfortunately, it is our not us, but people who have our same body parts but don't think the same.
Yes.
DJ?
Well, I think it's a question of self-defense. And it's interesting that you say that, because, I was on the left for a minute. And, you run across these guys all the time. And, they act, I call them purple pill power bottoms, because they act like they're red pill, but they're not. They're really just, they're blue pill.
Power
Exactly.
bottoms.
Yeah, purple pill power bottoms. And so you see these guys, and yeah, they come on the attack and they do all these different things, and they're like, well, I got to do mom this and mom that. And you say, look, why is it that they demonize your father? And why is it that you're accepting somebody else's opinion rather than forming your own? That's usually when these men come, because I get some of these guys who come to my channel and they get vitriolic, and I ask them, I challenge them. I say, look, why is it that you have this opinion about somebody when all you're doing is #MeTooing it? Why can't you form your own opinion? You're male, right? I mean, your balls have dropped, right? Your spine's not on layaway, right? Your dick's not in a purse, is it? So why can't you form your own opinion? And I think that's the important piece. You say, look, how is it that you're going to talk grimy about your dad when you're not even man enough to make your own opinion? You have to adopt someone else's opinion. So when it comes to this sort of thing, people get really flustered by that, and they don't understand that. Oh, and you wake them up when you do that, because then it confuses them, and they're like, well, I don't want to make my mom mad. Be like, why? I always tell guys too, I say, look, if she doesn't give you a grade, if she doesn't sign your paycheck, and she doesn't suck your dick, why does her opinion matter? Okay. If you can go out and make your own money, and these guys who are living into their 20s and 30s and they're supporting their moms and they're doing all this other stuff, you'd be like, look, what got your mom into that position in the first place? And why is it that you are willing to enable this bad behavior? If she's not financially responsible and you have to financially support your mom, maybe you need to go do something else instead so that you can make a better life for yourself. And go ahead.
Real quick, this is why a lot of guys who find red pill truth can't really take the red pill, because of their mom, familial ties. Well, my mom's not like that. My aunties, my sisters aren't like that. These guys are full of shit. Moms hold a lot of men back from realizing red pill truth.
Right. And the final thing I wanted to make a point on that is I say, look, if you allow your mom to walk on your dad like that, then you are setting yourself up for your future wife or your future girlfriend or the future woman in your life to do the same thing to you. Mm-hmm. If you don't have standards, then you can't demand standards from anyone else. And I think that those things are important, especially when you get these guys that come in and they're white knighting. Because I'll tell you what, the worst kind of feminists that are out there are the male feminists, the male SJWs. And you see these guys, they are cucked all day, every day. You see them at Antifa rallies. The woman will get up and she will jump in the dude's face. And then the second the guy says something to her, all these cucks will jump out and attack him. They do this figuratively online as well. And you just call them out and be like, look, I thought you said that she was stunning and brave. I thought you said she could stand on her own. Well, she can. Well, then what the fuck are you doing? You're basically admitting what we've been saying all along. Don't you see that you are now part of the meme? And then they're like, again, it forces them to think. And you see them. I've seen guys like pile on me when I'm in comment sections. And then the second I say something about it, they all disappear.
Yeah.
MLD, let's get you in real quick. And then we got Rollo after that.
Yeah, all I want to say is, like, to chime off of what Rich was saying in regards to this being a Cold War, no matter who you are, if you're a man and you're hearing our voice, like, we need to win this Cold War with the spreading of information. Even if you can make an anonymous blog or an anonymous Twitter, an anonymous Instagram where you just shit post memes all day that are red pill memes, like, whatever you can do, it is not insignificant. Like, we need more and more guys to spread this data. That's all it is. When you bottom line our existence, red pill is truth-based data and blue pill is false data. And that's all I got to say. Like, if you're a guy out there and you hear us, just tell people, send a copy of the Rational Mail out to somebody that you know needs it. Make an anonymous blog, make an anonymous YouTube, anonymous podcast, whatever. Just spread the information, because every little bit counts. And I don't think we really understand how quickly data spreads these days.
Yeah.
Hey, question.
Yeah.
This is one for the panel. It's really good. What does a win look like?
Yeah, that's.
I'm curious your guys' thoughts on this.
Well, hang on, Rollo. Did you have some comments?
Yeah, I was just gonna. That's a good question, right? No, I was just gonna say is that we are in a Cold War, but I think we're also in a gender Cold War, and I've got a hashtag called "This is what a gender war looks like."
I stand with Rollo.
Yeah, exactly. But I was just gonna say is that it's tough too, because we don't want to, especially as men, we don't want to believe that we are against women. You know, we're not in a Cold War. We're not in any kind of war. We're equals, right? We're all. This is a conversation of equals, and so it's this like equalist blank slate mindset that sort of pervades men. What DDJ was talking about. These Vichy males are these guys, male feminists. I mean, there's nothing worse than a blue pill alpha guy who is going to, step up and say, you should apologize to the little lady, that kind of shit. But I think that really, I think the greatest danger to the red pill right now is guys on the inside, or guys who want to believe that they are red pill and then they're still clinging to blue pill ideals. It's guys who still want to sort of ride on the red pill wave, who want to say, yeah, I believe in I read the Rational Mail and I think it's great, except for these parts right here. And it's this kind of pick and pull idea that you could still have all of these great blue pill ideals, but you can they're attainable with like red pill awareness. And I always tell guys that one of the reasons that I push back the hardest against purple pill guys is because they're essentially rerouting guys who would otherwise become red pill aware back to that sort of blue pill plantation. So it's like, yeah, here's the red pill. Those guys got some of this stuff right, but let me tell you, in my seminar here for $10.99, you can figure out how to get your girlfriend back, or how to have a good marriage of equals or some shit like that, or you can find your soulmate or some bullshit like that. And I think that is, if there's a danger to the red pill and it's a danger to our message, it's from the guys on the inside, because you're looking at guys who want to promote the brand of me. And how can they stand out? How can they be unique in this voice, this sea of voices of guys who they might not agree with all the way. I mean, we have some differences between MGTOWs. We have some differences between pickup artists. We have some differences for MRAs. And sometimes those differences are substantial and sometimes they're not. So I think that we need to be careful of guys on the inside speaking for all men. I mean, that's the most common thing I see from Vichy men. It's like, well, I speak for all men, right? Or it's these guys from the Good Man Project. Or these
I'd like
guys
to apologize on behalf of men.
Yeah, exactly. Or these guys like, or like the one that's really kind of coming up right now is the We Are Man Enough group. And it's these guys with these really slick videos, but all they are doing is just promoting the status quo. All they are doing is trying to say, yes, real men obey women. Real men get back on the plantation. You're not a real man unless you accept all this responsibility and 0% authority. And basically, and then they want to sell that as if it's red pill. And that's the thing that bugs me the most right now, is because guys who are coming to this and looking for answers, and they're coming into the manosphere, and they come across these guys who are selling purple pill ideals with a little bit of red pill in there. These are the guys that I worry about, because these are the dudes that hit me up and say, Rollo, you saved my life. I had a gun in my mouth, and then I read the Rational Mail and I decided to change my life. Right. Those are the guys I'm reaching out to. Those are the guys I'm trying to help right now. Cause I mean, I don't want to see another dude kill himself. And we already got 5 times the amount of guys as girls killing themselves. And we don't want to look at the reasons why. And so if you're going to tell me that you can have all these blue pill ideals with just a touch of red, they want a touch of red pill, they want to build a better beta. I'm going to fight against that. And I think that that's something we need to be really aware of going forward.
Donovan?
Yeah, real quick, something Rollo just said. Anytime you hear the phrase real men, it is always followed by something that requires men to sacrifice something for the benefit of a female. So beware. Real men insert male sacrifice, female benefit. To me, a win is simple, at least realistically. No, we're not going to repeal the 19th Amendment. We can't. Listen, man, we'd love to take women's voters' rights away, but dude, that's not going to happen. So let's not talk about. I think this is the problem that a lot of people have is they talk about solutions that are just not going to happen. We're not going to take away women's voting rights. Like that's not going to happen. So what we do is we come up with solutions to mitigate the inherent risks that comes with commingling with females. All of that said, to me, a win is when females start to outwardly admit that feminism has led them astray. Deep down inside, gentlemen, women know that feminism has led them astray. And how do we know this? Because they use their looks and their sexuality and their allure to try to lure men of value in. If they really did buy into the feminist lie, you know, and a lot of them still do this, but they'd wave around their college degrees. Look at me, I've got a college degree and I'm accomplished. Please come and put babies in me when I'm 35 years old. But girls aren't doing that. They're not putting their college degrees or accomplishments on Facebook. What they use to attract men is what they've always been using to attract men, which is sexual allure. So a win for the manosphere is when women, at least in the short term, start to admit, you know what? Maybe feminism kind of fucked things up. They already know it, but if we get them to outwardly admit it, then that's when we can really start to make a chink in the armor. And I think the 22 convention is a good place to start.
Fuck yeah. Make women great again.
You know it.
Yeah, just get her to admit she was wrong in that argument. That'll go well.
Well, listen, that's why I called it a win, right?
They're never going to take blame. So you just got to move forward as if they won't.
Yeah, listen, a woman taking blame is about as likely as the 19th Amendment being repealed. So there we go.
You know, the 19th Amendment thing, to me, it feels like a Band-Aid to a bigger problem. It's impossible, first of all, so it's never going to fucking happen, right? But even if it did, I don't feel like it's actually the fundamental root problem. As easy it is to dump it off on that. I feel like there are other mechanics we need to look at for voting and who votes and why and stuff like that. I know Nicholas Cloud, who, you know, Rollo mentioned him recently in a live stream we're on. Nick Cloud was the guy who spoke during my presentation, my keynote at the 10-year anniversary convention in Orlando for 21Con. And he outlined a lot of it, how voting used to work in the United States. It wasn't always considered a right. Like we look at it today as an individual right, like it's always been that way and everyone thinks that way.
We used to earn it.
They used to earn it. It was looked more like as a duty and a responsibility, kind of like jury duty. It was an administrative function. Yeah, it was skin in the game, and it was a function of just living and being an American citizen, being an American.
Yeah, it wasn't usually based on having property.
Yes,
property.
Basically, you had to have skin in the game.
Yeah.
Property ownership, military service, or being on the pointy end of law enforcement ought to be requirements.
And that makes sense, right? Because
skin in the game,
you've got skin in the game. I mean, if you're going to make decisions about the way the economy, the culture and society is going to go, you should have created something to contribute to it, right?
That's what I'm saying, though, is like we look at women's psychology and it's different from men's and it's slants left, collectivist, socialist, all this crap. But it's like, is that really the issue, or is it skin in the game that is the bigger issue at play? And the gender is important, but it's like secondary beyond that. That's how I see it.
Right. And I'd like to make I'd like to make a quick point on the idea of what a win looks like. So if you look at the YouTube, you look at the blogs, you look at the manosphere for the last, let's just say 24 to 36 months, there's been a lot more conversation. There have been a lot more men becoming red-pilled online. However, and this is something that I talk about in my book, The Feminist Lie, #ShowAlert. But one of the things that I think that's important that we need to not lose focus of, you want to talk about a win. In other words, what does DDJ think is a win? I'll tell you what I think is a win. Repeal the laws that fund feminism. Repeal the laws that demonize and target men with gender neutral language. In other words, the way the implementation happens. Because I'll tell you what, we could talk about these things until we're blue in the face. We can have these conversations. We could red pill men all over the place. But there was a guy from Sweden who talked about how to red pill, or how to red pill men in his area. I mean, there was a woman in Sweden recently who was there were two women. They were sexually assaulted. One of them was decapitated on video, and the Swedish government, by the way, which is the first feminist government in the world, they brag about this all the time. They didn't have a problem with any of that stuff happening. But if you spoke out in opposition to this, There were guys getting up to 4 years in jail for speaking out against the victimization of these two women. And what happened to them was absolutely horrible. So when it comes to a win, we have to really look at what that win looks like in a legal sense. It's, you know, men not being divorce raped anymore. It's the laws that that demonize men being repealed. It's the fact that the government should stop funding feminist bigotry. Once we get the welfare state away from funding feminist bigotry and we can put some of that money back into people's pockets, now all of a sudden we have some place to go and we have a conversation to happen. But as it stands right now, it seems like in response to a lot of the manosphere becoming more red-pilled and red-pilling more men, the laws are trying to get progressively worse. So we have to really look at the legal component and say, look, not only are we helping men on an individual level, but we need to be having the conversation about repealing some of the laws that don't work, which leads me to my final point, which is Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. The shutdown of the United States government caused the Violence Against Women Act to expire. So some good benefit so far. And, you know, again, 40 chests for the win. So I'm just saying that we have to really think about, again, repealing some of these laws, taking the welfare money out of these feminist pockets, because I'll tell you what, it's tax dollars that fund this discrimination.
Well, can we clarify? I was just cracking up at the Violence Against Women Act being repealed, but it's a very horrible act, right? That's just totally retarded.
It's based on a fraud. So to really dive into it, I did a video on this about the Duluth model. And real briefly, the Reader's Digest version is this. The Violence Against Women's Act, the whole big push for this legislation and all the vitriolic laws that come to it is this idea that all men are abusers and all women are victims no matter what. That's why when you see in the news, you'll see some woman will kill her significant other and then she goes, oh, well, he victimized me, and everybody buys it, and then she gets let off. The reason is because every judge in the United States, in fact, in the Western world, has been trained in the Duluth model, which states all men are abusers and all women are victims. So that's why you see when these women are criminals, when they're pedophiles, when they commit these crimes against their husbands, domestic violence, that's why you see they get lighter sentences. It's because all the judges, all the prosecutors, all the law enforcement agencies, everybody who works through the court system, they've all been trained in the Duluth model, and it is mandatory training. Now, here's why that's a problem. It's because one of the founders, Ellen Pence, admitted in a college textbook, and I did a video on this, that the Duluth model was built on fraud. And I always tell people, liars always lie. The Violence Against Women Act was built on this patriarchal fraud that was created in large part by the Duluth model. The reason the Duluth model is important is because it is the most commonly used domestic violence intervention program in the world. Even in areas that do not use the Duluth model, they use the Duluth model theories, they use the Duluth model program, they just call it something else. Even the United States military uses the Duluth model. So again, this goes to that full circle about what does a win look like? Get rid of the fucking Duluth model. How about that? That's a good place to start. How about we defund these women? Listen, if feminism was really a thing, if feminism was really important, and if women were truly equal to men, then they wouldn't need fucking government welfare to make their programs work. They wouldn't need an army of cucks to enforce their will. If they were able to stand in the market of ideas and they were able to appreciate a difference of opinion, then they wouldn't need all this government and financial backing, and they wouldn't need to be stealing money from taxpayers. So that's kind of where I'm headed with that. And that's why I think that when it comes to this sort of thing, we have to really look at the legal piece of that as well. And I'm not even talking necessarily about an activist mindset, but when you start looking at the dollars and cents and you start looking at how much money is going to this stuff, that's when all of a sudden you realize we're getting fucked. And I guess and I said I was going to shut up, but I apologize. I'm going to go on just a little bit longer. All right. So the other piece of it that I want to say is this: Social Security is in the dumps, and everybody's talking about how Social Security is not going to be there for older people in the United States. And again, this is for the Americans watching. Okay. I did a video recently about how billions of dollars every year are being robbed from Social Security to go after men, to demonize men. If you walk into courts anywhere in the United States, any county court, there will be a child support court. Well, what's happening is between $4 and $6 billion every year is being robbed from the Social Security fund to witch hunt men for child support when their child support was set too high.
Damn shame, man.
Now, I'm not saying that men shouldn't financially support their children. And for those guys out there who may even think that, listen, I am a father of 4. I am a grandfather of 2. I've been a single parent with custody of my kids from 2 marriages. I was a single parent for over 8 years. I raised my children myself. So I don't want anybody to think for a second that, oh, I'm just being an irresponsible dad. That's not the case at all. But the point is that you shouldn't need welfare dollars to support your movement. When you need welfare dollars, corporate welfare, government welfare, any kind of subsidy dollars to support your movement, it's because your movement has no merit. And if it has no merit, it shouldn't exist in the market of ideas. Feminism is a failed ideology, and it cannot survive without cucks financing it. You repeal the laws, that's what a win looks like.
Yeah, what do you say?
Rich Cooper?
Yeah. Can I just say DDJ for president? I was going to talk a lot about, family law and changing many of those things, but he's already knocked it out of the park. So I just want to add to that. A win would look like public recognition of what feminism really is. It's no longer about equality. It's about a supremacist movement. It's toxic, and that's what it is. And when we get public acknowledgement, then to me that would be a win, because that's when you're going to start seeing family law change. That's when you're going to start seeing fathers have access to their children, and not offing themselves by putting guns in their mouths. That's a win.
All right.
Yeah, I got a question. This is kind of like as an add-on to that, to Ryan's question, is like, and this is, I'm going to direct this at DDJ real quick, is now I've seen these videos of, like, say, Turd Flinging Monkey, where he's talking about how, and this is something that's common, I think, in MGTOW as well as Red Pill, is how men are expected to take 100% responsibility with 0% authority. And I fully understand that. The only thing I'm having trouble sort of articulating, I think, to people who have questions about this, is what does that authority look like? What would a male authority be like? And why do we say that that men lack authority, especially when women seem to think that men have all this power?
But the patriarchy, really Rollo.
Yeah, but the patriarchy, exactly. Yeah. But I would like to know what's a concrete example of that authority. If we could give men that authority back, what would that look like? Because I understand what you're going to. I think I know what you're going to say, which is going to be, men need to have some true control or something within marriages and stuff.
No,
what does that authority look like?
I don't think that's the case. So my view is a little bit different than TFM's when it comes to male authority versus female authority. I think the big push here is that when you look at marriage, let's just say prior second wave feminism, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't that men were the patriarchs of their household per se. It was that husbands and wives worked together. They had a relationship that consisted more of just the marital piece of paper. So the wife, and you see this all throughout history. When I did the research for my book, The Feminist Lie, this sort of soft power that women have extends all the way back to, like, the pharaohs. You look at it, like Cleopatra, and there were other queens out there who were actually married, where their husband was the king, and the queens would actually help with the negotiation with other heads of state because they wielded that soft power that's there. We see this all throughout history. Okay, so the idea of this whole patriarchal control, where you're going to be my bitch and I got to be the pimp, that's all a facade. The reality is that a man cannot rule his house without the investment of the woman being a part of that. And so these pre-1960s marriages, the ones that actually worked, you would see that the woman would kind of run things at home, the man would run the finances, and maybe he might be the voice box of what was happening, but anytime there was a negotiation, the man and the woman would show up, the husband and wife would show up for the negotiation, right? They would go, they'd have the conversation publicly. The man would do the majority of the talking. The woman would sit back and she'd kind of watch and scan everything. Then they would go off in their own space and they would have a conversation about it, and they'd make that decision together. You just don't hear about it. You don't hear about those types of things. And the problem that you have is that we are near a half a century of feminist indoctrination that says that every time that there is a challenge in your relationship, you need to end it. And when the man basically speaks out against ending it and says, no, this is a disagreement, this is not a problem, Then these feminists come in and they say, oh no, he's emotionally abusing you. Oh no, he's financially abusing you. And what happens is and then these women on their word alone, listen and believe, can file a civil domestic violence restraining order against this man and destroy his life in the process. Now, that's one of the reasons that I talk about this whole idea of destroying the Duluth model. The Duluth model created the civil domestic violence restraining order system, not only in the United States, but everywhere in the Western world. You get rid of the Duluth model, you get rid of those civil domestic violence restraining orders, and you are going a long way to restoring male authority, because the idea of male authority is give and take. And anybody who's married or who's been married for any length of time knows that it has to be a two-way street. If there's not mutual investment, the relationship doesn't work. And you see this all the time. And I always tell people, look, your marriage is over when her investment stops. It's not when you break up.
Wow. Yeah, so basically, this is what Richard was saying earlier. If she, and I've said this before, not to try to rain on anybody's parade here, but a lot of guys ask this basic question: why are my girlfriends leaving me? How can I get a girl to commit to me? She's got to have skin in the game, because listen, women may be women, but guess what? They want a return on investment too. All right. If you get a woman to invest in you financially, emotionally, spiritually, whatever the case may be, the more a woman has invested in you, on any level of relationship, the less likely it is that she's just going to leave on a whim. Just like DDJ said, women only decide really to check out when they stop their investments. As soon as they stop their investments, then that's a wrap. You guys may still be married, but she's already got one foot out the door. So as long as she still has skin in the game, so long as she is investing in the relationship, you have at least better odds not to get, I guess, blindsided in that regard. They have to have skin in the game. That is of utmost importance.
What about them phone lines? Do we have two numbers?
Yeah, the phone lines are cracking. Steve's actually manning the phones because Blog Talk Radio is fucking with me today. So that number is 515-605-9373. That's 515-605-9373 from outside the U.S. Yeah, just like Mark Gordon says, 001-515-605-9373.
Hey, let me give you the knuckle dragger version of what the win looks like.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, I mean, it's when they stop trying to make the little boys be little girls and they stop making the little girls be little boys, that's when we'll have the win. Case closed.
I love it. Yeah, this Desmond is amazing character.
I like this comment that just came through. DDJ is red pill Viagra. Jesus.
I don't even know what that means.
I don't either.
Good?
I think so.
He gives the red pill a mean and raging boner, but if it lasts for more than 4 hours, it could be deadly.
Does red pill have a problem getting it up? And
I do.
He's a drug addict or what?
There you go. I do want to say one thing about this. Desmond is amazing. Okay.
Oh my God, this fucking kid.
All right. So here's the thing. You need to be a certain age to buy alcohol. You need to be a certain age to own a gun. You need to be a certain age to consent to basically sexual intercourse. You need to be a certain age to vote. So why is it that we are allowing children under these ages who basically have no agency? By law, they have no agency whatsoever. So why are we allowing these children to say, oh, I'm a different gender now, or I'm different this, or I'm different that? Look, you're not even of the age of consent yet. Okay, go back to your goddamn Tonka truck and shut the fuck up. Smack the kid, stand him in the corner, and send him to bed early.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add to
that. Well, let's hit them phone lines next.
Let's do it. Go ahead, Steve, you got it.
Real quick, though, thanks for the super chats. We have several of them, including from AMG Expat. Sent $10. Appreciate it, man. And also, those of you watching, there's a bunch of you watching that have not liked. I know who you are. Well, not really, but I almost do. And all of you need to hit that button.
We know who you are. We're going to come after you.
We're going to find you. Hit that like button. Otherwise, we're going to find you. We're going to throw red pills at you. Red pill Viagra, apparently.
We got a few more super chats. JC with the $10 super chat. O'Shea Duke Jackson, $4.99 super chat. Q4D4M with a $16.73 super chat. I guess that was a Swedish currency. Torpedo Man with a $5 super chat says the most dangerous thing for men is the cognitive dissonance of men that are asleep. Very good. Jay Robinson 3469 with the $10 super chat says what should the testosterone level be in a 40-year-old man? I'm not a doctor. I don't know, but I myself try to shoot for around 900 nanograms per deciliter.
Let's bump to the phone lines too.
Let's do it.
Steve
Dave
Williams.
All right, no doubt. First one up. Let's get it.
What the hell?
All right, area code 409. You're on with the Red Man Group. What's up?
Love it.
Hey guys, hey, I want to thank all of y'all. I think you guys are really making a big difference. My question is mainly, I guess, for Richard, since I think we're about the same age. I'm 47 and have a 12-year-old daughter. DDJ will know more about this. I just filed for divorce and got it here recently from a 14-year marriage. I got an ex parte restraining order served on me 11 days after I had an argument with my wife. And so I filed for divorce. And I just wanted to ask Richard what his tips were for, my wife. The divorce filed about 3 months ago, and she's already dating a new guy. And he doesn't have any kids. And I just want to know from Richard, what are his tips? Because he might be in this same kind of situation of dealing with the new guy, in the situation. Basically my wife's, taking my daughter up to see him about 3 hours away on certain weekends. And, I just want to know what kind of tips and what kind of advice he had for dealing with the new man and your ex-wife situation when you have a daughter.
Well, the biggest risk to your daughter is a non-blood relative. So that means stepdad, mom's boyfriend, like stepson, whatever that ends up looking like in the same household. The highest incidences of sexual assault come from that place. Okay, they don't come in school, they don't come in the locker room, they don't come from some other kid. So you're going to have that awkward conversation with your kid's mother and say, look, this is the reality of the world. This is the fact. Find some facts, some links, some articles, some video, and just say, for the safety and for the protection of our daughter, I just want you to be aware of this and make sure that you have your eyes wide open, and ideally you don't leave her alone with Bob. The other thing that you want to do is, because your daughter's 12, so she's old enough to understand this, and DDJ can chime in on this too, because I know one of his daughters was sexually assaulted by somebody. I think one of his ex-wife's mother was involved with. Yeah. So let him go next. But and have the conversation with your daughter and make it clear, like, this is unacceptable. This is not what is allowed. So if it happens, or you see any hints of it happening, you let me know. I mean, for me personally, if my daughter or I caught any wind of anything like this happening, my statement would be loud and clear. It's going to be two hits, me hitting you and you hitting the ground, and that'll be it. And you're not getting back up. So, it's one of the risks that are out there as a father when you've got a daughter. But DDJ, chime in, because I know that you had to deal with this firsthand.
Well, first and foremost, the thing that I would say is this: dead enemies don't testify. But most importantly, if you get into a situation where you have to deal with another man who is abusing your child, you need to do so in such a way to where you do not go to prison or to jail. Because what ends up happening there is you become a statistic, they spin doctor it, and even if the abuser is dead, which, by the way, mom's new boyfriend and the stepdad are like top 5 abusers of children in the United States, according to the Center for Disease Control. Okay. That's how common it is. The fact that your ex has already jumped to the next branch, the next monkey branch that she's doing, tells me that there's some psychological issues with her as well. The fact that she's filed a protection order against you tells me that she's going to use any interaction with you to her benefit. So anytime that you try to address your concerns with her, that's going to be a problem. Now, here's what I would say, and this is something that I've done in family law cases I've been a part of. When a significant other is cheating on you and they're in the middle of a divorce case, right? In many states, you have what's called no-fault divorce, which means you cannot use their infidelity against them in the process of the divorce. However, if you have children, and she's bipolar, she's been diagnosed with depression, she's what my buddy Grizzly likes to call a cluster B clusterfuck, any kind of BPD, any of that, you can actually, especially if you're in the United States, you could use those mental health issues to show that she is not mentally capable of taking care of the children. And you can use that to fight for custody, assuming you have the horsepower for that fight. There are numerous, and the reason that I know this is because this is what CPS does to take children away from single moms. What they do is they wait for the divorce to finalize, and then they go after the kids. The CPS picks up the children, and they start that process, and they accuse the mom of having mental health deficiencies, whether it's depression or anything else, bipolar. Infidelity is a common symptom of bipolar. It's a common symptom of BPD. It's a common symptom of most cluster B disorders. And you could say, look, I don't care how many men she slept with, but what we can do is we need to talk about how those mental health issues interfere with her ability to take care of my children when they are in her home. So I agree with Richard when it comes to educating your children, having those relationships, you need to keep them as strong as possible. There has to be open lines of communication between you and your young children, because they are going to be the ones who tell you when this stuff happens. And you also have to remember too, that child abusers are very insidious. They go out of their way to groom these children and to drop their guard. And then they try to get these women to swear into secrecy. So these things are extremely important when it comes to dealing with children of divorce. And yes, I had 2 of my children who were sexually assaulted 5 and 6 days a week for 5 years. I've been through this personally. I know what it looks like. I know the techniques they use to deal with this. I know it both firsthand, and this is something that I dealt with when I was working as a family law paralegal all the time. So what I'm saying to you is this: keep the relationship with the child open. And if she does not file a criminal complaint against you, in other words, there's no police report, you need to challenge the accusations. And frankly, when it comes to your divorce case, and this is my personal advice, I'm not an attorney, this is not legal advice, but when it comes to your divorce case, if you are accused of a crime, which by the way, domestic violence, any kind of protection order is considered a crime. If you're accused of that, you need to assert your Fifth Amendment right. You need to never talk about it, because if you waive your Fifth Amendment right in a family court setting, you waive it everywhere else. So you need to make sure that your constitutional rights are enforced and say, look, we need to put a stay on this. She's accused me of a crime. There's a protection order in place. We need a police investigation. We need a prosecutor to look at this and go from there. And then when the prosecutor comes up dry, or the police department comes back and says, look, we've investigated this, we're not moving forward, then you walk back into family court and you go, look, she made it up. Professionals already investigated this, and we're going to move forward that way. Do not let the family court control that, because what they will do, they will assign a parenting investigator or a guardian ad litem or some other court professional who, by the way, is a man-hating feminist, right, and they will use that person to witch hunt you, and you will get screwed 10 times out of 10. So when it comes to that type of thing, you have to remember that legal piece of it. But then on the emotional side, you have to keep that relationship close with your children. I kept the relationship close to my kids, and because I was able to do that, they were able to come to me and to tell me what was happening. And because of my legal knowledge, I already had the pieces in place, and I had to sit on my hands for 5 years. I knew this was going on, but again, you know, you had to sit on your hands, but you have to be ready to take the fight when it happens. So if you see your children going through some stuff, put your kids in counseling, put your kids and tell the counselor, don't say anything about, you know, you're concerned about the abuse. Say, look, I want my child to have the resilience to survive the breakup of my marriage. And because children go through a lot of problems when it comes to breakup. And then little girls, here's a little pro tip for you guys. Daughters who are raised by single mothers become sexually active earlier in life, because how, like, kids, when they go through depression and they self-mutilate, they cut themselves, they do things that are harmful to them. Young girls who are raised by single mothers, they mutilate with dick. That's why they become sexually active quicker. This is a brutal reality that a lot of people don't talk about, but I go into this in detail in chapter 8 of my book, The Feminist Lie. So you have to understand that when it comes to these girls, you have to be able to take care of them as their father. You have to, whether you're a father of boys or girls, keep those relationships strong. Don't worry about buying them off because they're going to come after you for child support. But you want that quality time. You want that face time. You want to be able to do those things, because when those relationships are strong, you're going to be in a better position to see, oh, this isn't right, or, you know, something is wrong here. And your kids will come to you and will let you know kind of what's going on. And frankly, if you're just in the middle of a divorce and she's already seen another guy, that's the transition man, okay? He's not going to stick around. He's there. These child abusers know to prey on these single moms. Run a background check on him. Find out who this guy is. Find out what his history is. Because I'll tell you what, when it came to my children, this guy, 6 months before he met my kids, was already on Child Protective Services radar for abusing another set of children.
Oh my God. How could she miss that?
Nobody paid attention to it. Nobody did their homework. You got to background check these guys. If you are in the middle of, a divorce type situation, and she's got a new guy in the program, you have to understand, you got to do your homework, because I'll tell you what, men, no one is going to protect you but you. So the more you know, the better you can protect yourself.
Is hypergamy so strong that some women will completely overlook all these kind of red flags.
Yeah, dude, it happens regularly.
Yep,
Part of me
100%.
does not care.
Just real quick, just to piggyback off what DDJ said, I can't really add to what he said. I've been through a divorce, but I'm not a father. All I can give you is just sort of some practical things that you may or may not have thought about. In episode 322, I did sort of a quasi episode, how to win your divorce as a man. Probably nowhere near the level of advice that Richard and DDJ can give you. But real quick, what DDJ said, communicate with your children. That is first and foremost. Number two, don't agree to anything. Again, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Anything you say to your soon-to-be ex-wife, she's going to try to spin it in some sort of way to be used against you. Here's another tip. Don't get your friends and family involved. And as tempting as it may be to want to sort of verbally vomit on what you're going through, guess what? Your soon-to-be ex-wife probably has ties with some of your friends and some of your family. She might hear some of that stuff going through the grapevine. Real quick, stay the fuck off social media, man. Don't go off venting on social media, because guess what? I don't know if that stuff is admissible in court or not, but again, anything you say can't. This is the Fifth Amendment tells you that you have the right to shut the fuck up, and of course, document everything. That's the best advice I can give you.
I'd like to add one thing to that as well, and this is a bit of a shill alert. I actually did a 3-video series. Each of these videos is about an hour to 2 hours long with an attorney, MGTOW Esquire. We talk about if you're a guy getting ready to go through a divorce or you're in the middle of a divorce, it's advice that you could use. It's legal advice from a bona fide family law attorney that you can use to help protect yourself, to choose an attorney, to find an attorney, and to kind of help navigate that piece in.
Can you just mention the title of those videos, or maybe link them in the chat in case anybody wants to watch them?
If they go and do a search on my channel for Layman's Legal Clinic, those videos are listed under Layman's Legal Clinic, and there's a playlist.
There you go.
Cool. Let's take one more call up before we wrap the show up.
All right, area code 903, you're on. What's your question for the Red Man Group, sir?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I'm pretty new to Red Pill. I've been watching RMG shows for the past few months, I guess, but I haven't, I guess, read a whole lot of material yet. So it's maybe kind of a 101 question, but I guess what I'm trying to wrap my head around is in terms of the Red Pill mindset, how does the what most people would traditionally see as chivalry play into that? Is it completely out the window, or
don't stab a guy when he's putting on his armor. That's just obvious.
That's really the origin of chivalry, right?
I think as far as chivalry is concerned, you can
don't shoot a guy when he's taking a shit because diarrhea killed people during the Civil War. Like, that's chivalry.
Well, I'll tell you this, as far as women go, it's okay to be a masculine gentleman to women, but only to those who deserve it, right? Listen, open her door for her, hold her hand, do this and that and the other. But most of today's women are not deserving of a man's chivalrous effort. Only exhibit chivalry when a woman has showed you that she has earned it. Back in the day, she had already earned it by virtue that she is a woman. She probably, more likely than not, she wasn't a slut. Girls these days, no, make them earn it.
Well, yeah, I've always said, and I always like to pull up the hammer and everything. If you know anything about Thor and the hammer, is that the only way that I'm going to be chivalrous to a fucking woman is if she's worthy of my time and my attention. I don't mind putting my dick on her forehead, but she's got to show me that she's worth, what is she bringing to the table other than her ass and titties? So where a lot of guys do normally is that they will rip their spines off, hand these women their respect without them earning it. Don't get it wrong. Don't think that you can't be chivalrous, but what is she doing to earn it? Make her earn that. Just don't hand it away.
Yeah, never feed her before you fuck her. That's a general rule of thumb.
Yeah, 100%, dude. Like, I could tell this guy's new because he's asking about chivalry in regards to context of dating. And like, honestly, today's day and age, you're going to get way farther just being a self-centered asshole than you are being chivalrous, because chivalry in today's society is kind of looked down upon as like kind of a weakness. These girls, like, when you're chivalrous to them, you're playing along the blue pill NPC role that they want you to play, and they look at you and they're like, "Oh, this guy's a fucking pussy." Like, they don't see you as an independent man leader type. So in regards to that, just if you're trying to get laid and at high frequency, chivalry is the last thing you need to be worrying about. As Steve said, it's spot on because this truth is universal. You only give your kind, loving attention to those who are worthy. Everybody else is just cannon fodder.
We have a few in the chat here, and the panelists want to go. Rollo?
I was just going to drop in here real quick. I have at least 3 posts on chivalry, and I think that what guys need to understand is that what we think of as chivalry is actually it's a bastardization of what chivalry really was. What we're looking at is a form of chivalry that was bastardized by was the courtly love of the early, well, I guess it was the early Renaissance and even the Middle Ages or something like that. It's what it is. I call chivalry feminism 1.0, because what women did was they saw this sort of code of conduct between like noblemen who promised not to beat up on each other, and have sort of this code or this ethical kind of treatment of other men, and they inserted women's interests into that code. So it was never hit an unarmed man, always, was it the was in the Magna Carta or something. I think even habeas corpus was actually part of that too. But
back in 1215.
Yeah, I was going to say the original idea of chivalry is something that men came up with, and it's not just unique to Western Europeans as well, because you got also the Bushido code in Japan. So it happened in the East. This is something that men came up with on their own, and it was women who inserted this idea that, oh, you need to fight a duel for my lady, or you need to prove your worth or prove your quality towards me, and you need to give me all of these advantages for being a woman of quality. Well, that was the thing is that you had to be a woman who was worth having any kind of chivalrous notion for, because if you were a skank back then, it wasn't, they didn't care what you were, if you
it wasn't even that. It's that her dad wasn't going to let you near her unless you did his rules, and that's what that chivalry is. It's about the dad. It's not even about the daughter.
When feminists, feminists want it both ways. They want the old social, and what we're talking about here, I should just catch this up. What you're talking about here is an old social old social conventions versus new social conventions. It's the old social contract that says, you give respect to women regardless of their merits, regardless of who they are. If she's a woman, you're supposed to carry her books home from school. You're supposed to open the door for her. You're supposed to say, God bless you after she sneezes or some shit. You have to have some sort of, default respect for a woman. But the thing is they still want that new social contract, which means you respect her as your equal.
Yeah, after she's taken 257 dicks.
Yeah, and I would just want to say right now is that a woman cannot look up to you if she is your equal. She needs to look up to you. She needs to admire you. And so I think what Steve was saying is that she's got to be somebody who is deserving of that respect, deserving of what we want. I hate to even call it chivalry, because it's not really chivalry, but it's like this feminine, this old social contract, old set of books, respect for a woman just because she has a vagina. Very, very few women deserve that. Maybe your mom does, and even I would be suspect. So just be curious. And I think guys need to do that. They need to say, is this person really worthy of my time and my respect? Because that's what we have to do these days. Because when it comes to men, if we're going to talk about like baseline equals, if I'm going to be the equal of any man on this panel right here, there has to be some kind of mutual respect between us, right? I wouldn't want to be a part of this group if I didn't respect every guy on here, because I know what you guys have gone through and everything. But there's this idea that since we are all the same, and since we are all baseline equals, and since we're all supposed to be blank slates, that we're all deserving of some sort of equal respect. And I say, even for men and even for women, no one is worth a baseline respect until they prove to me that they've earned that respect from me. But women still want that old school respect. They want to be respected just because women have a vagina. And that's when they say, I respect women. It's like, well, yeah, I don't respect women, because I have to know exactly what they're about before I have any kind of earned, merited respect. Because I think women have a different idea of what respect is from men.
They say you got to give respect to get respect. It's interesting. You treat guys who respect you less better than the guys who do.
I just got to get this to Rollo real quick. Rollo, this is for you, dog.
Damn.
Hey, Tex, did you want to hop in on this too?
Just one thing. I think that chivalry these days is quite often just some version of a covert contract. I mean, why are you doing that? And it's like Steve said earlier. I mean, she's got to be worth it or not. And don't confuse having decent manners with somebody you respect versus chivalry versus just writing a covert contract.
Ooh.
All right.
Loving it, Tex.
Guys, we've been going about 2.5 hours now. I think we should kind of wind the show down.
Let's do it.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this too. It's been an absolute honor working with each and every one of you this year with the 21 convention, the biggest one ever, as well as building the Redman group up from scratch. Redman group up from scratch. Can't even talk at this point. It's been a hell of a year. That goes for our audience as well. The guys who tune into the show, who have subscribed to the channel, who were on the Reddit before it got banned, who follow us on Twitter, who constantly pitch into the show on Patreon and on Super Chats and hitting the like button over and over again, and showing up to the events too. Everybody showed up live at 21Con. It's been awesome. It's an understatement to say it's been awesome. From each one of you guys in the panel, including DDJ, who came on more recently. I've known Drew Bay for many years, Rollo for a couple of years now. All of you guys. It's been fucking awesome. Any last comments before we wrap up the last show of the year, guys? It's kind of a sad note.
Quick. Yeah, real quick. At 1 o'clock on my channel, myself, Steve the Dean, and Jonathan from Modern Life Dating, we're going to do sort of a Redman group after party. So at 1 o'clock on my channel, Donovan Sharp, or go to donovansharp.com. We'll be doing sort of our thoughts on what went down today.
Fuck yeah, cool.
Let's do it.
I just want to say something really quick before we break here. Is we've for most of this show we've been talking about what we expect as being sort of the risks and the negative, maybe the downside of what we have to be careful of, and it's always been these warnings so far. But I really think that we have to also look forward to some good shit too. And I think that the more we get together and the more we band together and the more, I only see the Manosphere growing, and I only see this, and I don't, for lack of a better term, this red pill community. I only see it becoming something that's stronger and better in the future. I mean, granted, we're going to have to watch out for a lot of pitfalls, but I think that the more people come on, the better off, men are going to be. I think it was, and again, I'm going to really briefly here quote TFM. He was saying something to the effect that this is now bigger than just us. It's bigger than the Manosphere. It's bigger than the red pill. It's great that we are at ground zero and we're in on here. We're kind of like the beat generation for this particular era, but if you took this all away, if you took all of the red pill away, if you took the Manosphere away, if all of this was erased tomorrow, guys are still waking up to this shit.
Yep.
Guys are still seeing the writing on the wall. They're seeing open hypergamy. They're seeing open cuckoldry. They're seeing how men are being, actively disadvantaged. I think, of course, coming in the election cycle, they're going to even be more and more aware of it. I've made this observation before, but it's not guys like me that are going to wake up the most amount of men. It's going to be women themselves, because of their behaviors and their empowerment and their disempowerment of men it's going to get to the point where it's become so unignorable.
Critical mass.
Critical mass that guys are going to see this. So don't think of this as like, oh my gosh, if the community dies tomorrow, we're fucked. But just understand that guys are seeing I want to give maybe a little bit more credit than where it's due, but I think that guys see this, and that's why at least they're open to it. When they see something in the, that shitty ass CNN thing about MGTOWs, at least that brought people back in. At least that brought people some kind of awareness. And I think that even if all this goes away tomorrow, we're still making inroads. So
I'd like to dovetail on that too.
Yeah, I just want to say to everybody that's listening to this show, send this to 5 of your friends. Matter of fact, send it to 10 of your friends. Spread the movement, because you are not going to get a group of men like you see today ever that has one mind, one thought, one current, that is here to help you grow as men. Support the movement and share this with people who need the knowledge. That's all I want to say.
DJ?
One of the things that a lot of men, it's interesting because, I look at my, the mail I get from people in the comments and such, and I get these people asking for advice. One of the things that I'd say is this: for the men that are listening, you are the heroes you are looking for. No one is going to protect you as much as you are going to protect yourself. And in 2019, my challenge to you is to do more than just to watch, just to listen, and just absorb the knowledge. Share the videos, share the comments, subscribe to the channels, and support the men who are doing this. Because the reality is that we're just a bunch of guys behind a keyboard, and we're just having this conversation and sharing the knowledge. But the reality is that each and every person who watches this can share this knowledge, can have the conversations, use these types of videos as launch points so that you can share this information with other people. because that's really where the groundswell comes from. It's not the people that just kind of watch and don't do anything. It's the people that like the video. By the way, I see we have 360 likes, 584. We need to get those likes up. Secondly, it's the people who subscribe to the channels. It's the people who go to these things like the 21 conventions. It's the people who buy our books, who read them, and who share them. It's the people who use our books as their source material for their books or for their college papers and those types of things. You have to do something. Listen, men solve problems, bitches bitch. Don't be a bitch, male or female, okay?
Yeah,
so
this is great.
Solid.
you know, you really, the thing about being red pill is not just absorbing the truth for what it is. Part of being red pill is what you do. You know, it's like you see these martial artists that are out there and they run around with this black belt, but they don't deserve the black belt because they can't do the techniques. They can't, they don't put the action behind the words.
Watch all the videos, go to all the tournaments.
Yeah,
Do it.
yeah. Red pill men put action behind their words. If you consider yourself, and you are watching this video and you consider yourself red pill, then you need to put your action behind your words and show, not just tell. Like I said, men do shit, bitches bitch. So, you know, make 2019 great, not just for Trump, but for all men, and support your fellow men. Have the conversation, share the videos, you know, interact with your local men. Doesn't necessarily need to be about male knowledge. Just build your friendships, build those relationships, do those things that improve your life for yourself, because there's nothing wrong with that. And anybody who wants you to be a slave, whether it's some thought or whatever, walk the fuck away from them, because they are not worth your time. No. If she does not bring anything of value to the table, walk the fuck away.
Man, I totally want to vote DDJ and Rollo Tomassi for president in 2020.
You can't make everybody the president.
Yeah.
Hey, Drew, do you want to hop in
cabinet positions? Appoint them all to cabinet positions. Just to add to what DDJ said, acting nonverbal. Yeah, it's not enough to talk about this. We love talking about it. We love, reading everybody's blogs and email, and definitely subscribe to everybody's email newsletters. Follow everybody here on social media and share the hell out of the stuff. But it's not enough to talk about it and read and all that stuff. You have to put it into action, not just for yourself, but so that you can set an example for other men. And get in the gym. One of the best things that you can do to improve your own confidence, which will make it easier for you to act out this stuff, is to be in better physical condition.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Rich, by the way, said hop off. Much appreciate him being on the show, hosting it this year, building it, and being one of the main guys, one of the core panelists. With that said, I think we should wrap up. I know Donovan's got a show coming up, his after party at 1 p.m.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for being on the panel. I very much enjoyed hosting today and throughout the year and building out the events and everything. It's been an honor. I look forward to all the help from the audience as well, like DDJ was talking about. Hit that like button, send in super chats, share everything you can, subscribe to everyone's newsletters, do your own stuff, build your own blog. And I'll see you guys all
right, guys. See you next year.
Later. There we are.
Redman Group 2018. Here we go.